to the giant Beastcast. Here we go, folks. It is episode 274. It's either Thursday, August 20th, or Friday, August 21st. If you're watching this at the supposed time this is supposed to go live, but here we are still doing them live. If you're catching this recorded, we do these live on Thursdays around 1:30ish Eastern time. Today, though, and we'll get into this in a second here. Today, a little later doing it live because that Microsoft Flight Simulator video is going up, and I had to upload that. I'm joined by Alex Navarro.
Yes, you are. I was on that Flight Simulator quick look, and I think people will enjoy that video. It was a lot of fun to watch, you guys.
Thank you. That was a fun time. I'm also joined... Watch this, Alex. Check this out. I'm also joined by Jeff Baccalar.
Hey, glad to be here.
No, just kidding. Jeff Gerstmann.
Hey.
Wow, you managed to offend both Jeffs.
How's it going, Jeffs? All right, Baccalar, how are you doing? We'll start with you because you're the state of New Jersey, while mostly on fire, not literally on fire right now. How are you doing?
All things considered, not so bad, Vin. How about you?
Doing okay. Doing all right. Kind of all things considered, again, relatively okay. Okay, now we'll go over to Jeff Gerstmann. Jeff, how are you doing?
Just watching the skies and waiting to see that they sent out an order this morning saying, please don't flush your toilet unless it has something solid in it because we need that water for firefighting.
Oh, man. That's an order.
And that's... Yeah, that was the first thing on the order too. There's more from there about like don't water your lawn, don't do all this other stuff. But they opened with like, if it's yellow, let it mellow. Like they should have written, like what?
If it's shit, don't let it sit. That's the way that would
be. Like a fire person coming into your bathroom and be like, don't flush that, we need that.
Do that. He's got an axe and everything. Like, shit.
It's bad there. There were lightning strikes, there are earthquakes, and now fires.
Yes. Yeah. No, I forgot all about the earthquake because that was not that close to here. But yes, there's literally fire surrounding the Bay Area. I am at the north end of the Bay Area, which puts me closer to the fire than I wish I was. And last night it was like, we got to close all these windows, but also it's been like 100 degrees lately, and no one living around here has air conditioning because that's just not done.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was this feeling of like it's 85 degrees in this house, and I can't have the windows open now that it's finally cooled off because there's smoke pouring in and killing me. So it's been an interesting 24 hours.
I bet. And I think the terrible thing for. One of the more terrible things is it's not the first time. This is like
this is every year now. Yeah. But it's usually October.
Yeah. So this is early.
This is early. The lightning strike was kind of a freak thing, and this is early and not welcome. I mean, obviously, so people are being evacuated. Was it like 35-ish miles north of here?
It's like around Healdsburg.
Healdsburg is under a warning, if not an order by now. I'm not sure.
Call Frank.
Yeah. So like not that close to here in terms of like, this is not the closest fire has been to where I'm sitting. I think the closest we got one year was about 6 miles.
Wow, that's very close.
That's very close. But that was a smaller one that was an offshoot of the big one. So even that was like, there's a bigger one that's further away. That's the one we're worried about. This one on the other side of it, 6 miles, whatever. Who cares? But yeah, so it's...
I mean, that's kind of what's happening here now, right? Because there was a smaller fire in northwestern Sonoma County, but then there's a much bigger one that went over through like Vacaville
through Napa, and that's a bigger one that is that's a bigger fire that is maybe not a problem for me personally,
right?
As much as the other one could potentially be, but that one is a much larger fire. And then there's one in Santa Cruz, and the freeway was on fire in Oakland last night, but I think they got that under control. There's like over 100 fires, I think, in California right now, all told.
Well, I hope people are staying safe and evacuating safely and orderly, and hopefully evacuating not easy, but everybody's being safe. And Jeff, if you need to go, please feel free. We're gonna get started here. Some stuff to talk about. I want to start off with I think all of us here at this point have seen a little of that flight simulator, Microsoft Flight Simulator. I'll just call it 2020. It is not in the official title, but it is the new flight simulator from Microsoft. I have played a decent amount of it. It is currently in the back end, currently in no longer in my back end, but in GameSpot, CBS's back end processing. So that might go up soon. I like it. I think it is, make no mistake, a flight simulator. Off the ticks the boxes of very nice interior cockpits, rendered lovingly.
I would say Forza-esque in its attention to detail of cockpits.
It also has. I'm gonna move my mouse for a second here just to make sure everything is okay on my screen. It's got a store where you can buy planes because there are also 3 different versions of this game. I should mention. Each version, there's a regular, a premium, and a premium deluxe. Each version coming with slightly more planes and also kind of bespoke, hand-touched airports. You'll get more of those, not substantially more, but I think it's like 5 or 6 or so more per version you go up. And that's because most of the terrain here is rendered using satellite imagery. I assume some kind of Bing maps or whatever
Bing,
they have,
baby.
whatever they have going
definitely
on.
Bing.
And it's I keep wanting to say Google Maps, which I don't think this is, but it is using satellite imagery, which then kind of extrudes up the houses. It makes everything 3-dimensional, and a lot of it, as you get close to it, you're like, yep, okay, that looks like somebody stretched out a JPEG and wrapped it around a building. But that being said, it works for the most part while you're in a plane, and then again, that's why you have some of these more touched by artists and people at who's it? Asobo? What's the developer?
Asobo is the studio.
The studio.
And there's like
okay.
some AI company that's listed on it too.
So you'll so like one of them is SFO is one of the ones you get in the premium deluxe version, and that's a very good looking airport when you're in SFO. It looks very much like SFO, and it doesn't look phonied or faked at all. So you can see some of that in the quick look. So there's that part. I have found the tutorials in them pretty good for getting you off the ground, understanding a bit of jargon, and then getting you back onto the ground and kind of setting you up for the very basics of flying a plane. Hey, you're gonna tilt the stick, or you're gonna tilt your controller this way and this way to move. You're gonna want to use brakes sometimes. You're gonna want to use, I don't even know if they go into flaps actually, but it's
in the tutorial.
Yeah, it's pretty basic in terms of what they want you to do. But
pull the stick back and hope for the best.
But kind of fundamentals, like to land the plane, you're going to want to kind of circle around until you get to an approach vector. That's going to be important. Don't just try and come in and land sideways on a runway.
Yep, learn the hard way.
Whatever. I played Pilot Wings. I know how to do this. I don't worry about approach vector. Come on.
So I think that stuff is pretty basic. I said this in the quick look, so I'm going to repeat a lot here, but there is going to absolutely be a cottage industry on YouTube and other channels for how to fly this particular plane, because that stuff does not exist in the game right now. If you jump from your Cessna, which is kind of the very basic plane they start with, which is kind of a lawnmower with wings, and move your way up to a 747, you're just jumping around, and it's not like they're like, okay, you're in a 747 now, let's go over the basics. You're just kind of flying it.
It's a totally different kind of flying altogether.
Yeah.
I should have recorded myself with like my first half hour of this game where I was just like,
were you watching the install progress for the first?
No, that was the first 15 hours. But when I actually got the game to run, it must have been amazing. And I wish like there was a real pilot watching me too. It was just like, look at this idiot. I just think there's something so amazingly hilarious that this game is exactly what it is, right? Like, I know I've played Flight Simulator before. I know that's a thing, but there's such a feeling of helplessness where I don't know. I didn't really know what I was doing. I kind of just went into the medium mode, and I tried to go newer SFO in like a propeller plane because I'm a fucking asshole, and it was great. I crashed right away. It's just so strange to me that they're just like, no, this is literally the cockpit of the plane you're in, and you have to fly this now, you idiot. Turns out, I don't know how to fly a plane, you guys. I don't know about you.
I mean, that helplessness is more or less what has determined that I am never actually going to buy and play this game, but I am going to watch so many other people play this game. I am so excited to watch people who know what the hell they're doing play this game. And especially also some people who maybe don't know what they're doing. Vinny, hi.
Hi. Yeah, so I think it is a flight simulator. It is a game there to simulate flying a plane. You have at least 3 levels of assists at the base level. You have like, easy, medium, and true to life, I think is what they call it. And then it gets more granular. You can go into any of those base settings and set like, okay, I want true to life, but I want to turn collision off, or I want to turn these other things off. So you can go in there. I found it pretty approachable. Drew said he tried with a controller and was fine. It said it felt okay with the controller and fine to play. I was playing with my my flight stick, the HOTAS I have here, the Cytec X52, and this is important, I think, for people who are jumping in here. That was immediately recognized by the game, not only as a controller with a picture of the thing in the game and all the buttons laid out, but Drew's flight stick, which is a CH product, was not, which I thought was hilarious that they have this like laser ship style HOTAS in there, but not Drew's actual flight yoke and all that stuff in there. I'm sure they will add. I shouldn't say sure. I would place money down that they will add this stuff over time and products in over time.
It seems like they have a lot to do to this game over time. Like I uninstalled it because I've been having so much trouble. I've been unable to even get into a plane. I launched it, it started downloading, and then I had to close it because I had to do other things with this computer and could not let that music just play for the hours it needed to download. It's like additional, because like the initial download is like 9 gigs or something insane like that. And then it's like, and then you launch that and it's like, all right, let's download another 200, 300 gigs of stuff. Where you want to put it? Like, not on my SSD, I guess.
Which using the Microsoft Store one defaults to like, well, just put this on your C drive. You're cool with this? It's just right in your documents folder. And it's like,
right, yeah.
No.
Put it on your desktop. There you go.
Yeah. So I had to close it, reopened it, and it seemed to resume, I guess. And it eventually just kind of brought me to the menu. I don't know if it finished the install or what, but it did eventually bring me to the real menu. And then I was able to get in there and turn on all the assists, and it gets you to this menu where you pick like, oh, what airports do you want to do? What plane do you want to fly? And I was like, give me a jet with all the assists on, and let me go from. I'm going to tell you that I'm going from SFO to Seattle, but who knows? Let's see what happens. And then there's just a button marked fly.
Yeah.
And I click the button marked fly, and nothing happened.
That's a bummer.
And I just kept clicking the fly button over and over again. It did not load. It did not say like, hey, you didn't pick an airport, you jack off. Like there was no indication that it was like anything one way or the other. So I did that a bunch and then started wondering, well, maybe me closing it while it was downloading that stuff broke that install and it just doesn't know that. And well, maybe I just need to just delete this entire thing and try later. So that's what I did. And I have not re-downloaded it yet to try.
I've not heard 2 of the same stories with installing this game. Like I went and started downloading it because Vinny was like, "Oh, it's a project, so start now, and maybe by the weekend we can play together." And man, so I started downloading, and I got to first. I had the bar stall out for me, and I let that sit for a half hour with no progress, and then just closed it all down. Started it over. It began downloading this thing. And man, there's not a way to turn off that music that I knew of. So that music became the theme song of my life for Tuesday or whenever the hell this came out. So that was a thing. And then I got to a place I had then it crashed at some point where I wasn't watching. I came back to my computer, restarted the program. It got me into
I'm sorry, can I just interrupt you for a minute because there's a bunch of people in chat that fucking suck. And they're just like, use the Windows sound mixer. Why wouldn't you do that? It's like, okay, yes, obviously in Windows there's a way that you could mute the app, but the idea that you have to do that in this dumb fucking thing that there's no like turn off the music, this is going to take some time, is on them. Fuck this.
Yeah,
fuck
like
that. Fuck that.
100%. Like I could fucking figure out how to mute an app if I wanted to, but it's a goddamn joke that I have to look for that.
You shouldn't have to.
Exactly. Like, so then I got to a screen where like I saw what appeared to be like programming labels for buttons where it said like interact dot extract dot, like all these things where like fly should have been, or like it just gave me like the sort of code directions for everything. So I was like, well, this seems to be early. I wonder. I was like, I wonder. And then it was funny because I like basically figured out what everything meant, and I got to, keep going through the menu. And then as soon as I was able to say like, okay, go, then it crapped out and I had to restart. I uninstalled the whole thing because the downloads wouldn't kick back up again. I could not get that. And then I guess I started the whole process around 11 a.m. And by 10:30 at night, I had tried to fly from EWR to SFO in a propeller plane.
That's Newark.
And look, what am I missing with the regular version of this? Because I use the Game Pass version. Should I get the super duper airport version?
It's bespoke airports and different planes, right?
It's just higher detail airports.
You keep saying bespoke airports. And it's never not funny.
It's they're handcrafted in Brooklyn. They smell delicious.
Artisanal airports.
Yes.
My download story. I dropped this in like around 7. No, must have been later than that, like 9 or 10, and was like, okay, I'm gonna install this. Downloaded from the Windows Store super quickly and was like, great, here we go. I'm going to jump in here. And then you open it up and it's like, got some updates to do. Let's get all the packs. And then it started downloading and it does that you're in the application when it's downloading. So you're in Flight Simulator, I should mention.
Yeah.
So it's running and then it does that terrible thing where it's like downloading, extracting, and installing all at the same time, every little tiny thing. So it's not just the size of the file, right? It's not just that you're downloading 120, 150 gigs. It's that every small thing that downloads then has to unzip and then install in the right spot. And you can see it's got progress at the bottom. And I was in a dilemma of like, I'm not going to just leave this running overnight. Like with this just Microsoft Flight Simulator just running on my computer all night, I have to sit here and watch it or do something else and come back, right? Because it's not like it's downloading in the background. It's the thing is open and it doesn't quit when it's done. So yeah, it's bad. That part's really bad. I wish there was just a toggle there, for the sound. Hey, mute that. Hey, they figured that one out on like Commodore 64. No, well, I'll go a little later than that. Let's say some later PC games of like, hey, you want to mute the sound on your crack generator. And
I do not.
And I do not. I want to hear it. Also, a quit when done is a thing they should have, since I should mention I'm on fiber. I'm on gigabit connection here. Even I wanted the damn thing to quit when it was done so I could just go to bed and leave it running. So imagine people who are getting this, who are on, 5, 10, 15 meg down or worse. That's gonna be a problem.
For them, they've got 10 DVDs.
For them, they have, if you're in Europe,
Microsoft has a product for you. It's called 10 DVDs.
It's a better way to fly or whatever. So the other thing is you need a pretty steep PC requirements to really get this thing going. And even if you do hit some of those requirements and it's good most of the time, it might not be good some of the time. Like when you first load into a really dense airport or something, or a cockpit like a 747, it's going to probably chunk up and be real rough until everything sorts itself out. I played mostly on high, not ultra. And it's after, an initial load seemed to figure itself out. And sometimes that initial load is very long, especially if you're going again into a dense airport or whatchamacallit, a cockpit. But all that being said, you've loaded in, things have smoothed out. I think it's fantastic after that. I think you're flying a plane in a way that I can only assume is as true to life as they currently can make it. The cockpits do look very nice. I have no idea about the flight model. I don't know if this is real, but you fly and looking out the window, that satellite stuff works. That rendering from up there works in a way that is kind of amazing. And it took me a while to realize, wow, I could kind of just fly anywhere and look at anything. Like, let's just go, because first I was like, I'll fly around Manhattan. Yeah, it looks like Manhattan. Then I was like, well, I can fly across Asia if I wanted to, and go look at that and see, how much of that is rendered out there. And I would have no idea because I don't know. I've never been there or seen it from a plane, but that idea is pretty neat. The other thing that was pretty neat was finally getting on with someone like, or just someone else like Drew, and doing multiplayer and being able to fly coordinated with somebody else and like, hey, we're both going to go take a flight and let's go both fly somewhere. That was a lot of fun. You do see other players live on the map. It pulls in live flight data, also pulls in live, if you wanted to, live data for time of day, weather from all different places. It's all super cool in that way. Again, if you're there to geek out on that stuff, if you're there to really embrace that stuff, if you're there to do a barrel roll and try and like fly through buildings and you can do some of that stuff, but it's not made for that. It's gonna bug out in weird ways. Like in the quick look, spoilers, I tried to land on the Golden Gate Bridge and eventually I just hit an invisible wall and I couldn't fly. I couldn't roll across the bridge anymore. Man. Yeah, so there's
sorry, Vinny.
Yeah, and when I landed on it the last time, when I landed on the actual bridge, it just said I was crashed into the water, which so I think it's like not rendered as like this is a surface. Right. So you're going to hit some of that stuff. Also, if you turn on the collision and you turn on the crash stuff, it'll just fade to a black screen. You're not going to shear a wing off. You're not going to like, death spiral out of the air because you pulled too much force on a turn. It's just going to fade to black and say you stressed the plane out too much. You restart. So it's not there to show a fireball of a plane. And I understand that. That is probably for the best, given the world we live in with, all the stuff. Like, I can understand that choice in terms. These are also, they've done stuff like that before. This is all licensed products. These were real planes, and I'm sure none of those manufacturers want their planes flying into buildings, right? Nobody wants that footage.
Well, I mean, the problem is though you can turn all that collision off, and you can still totally. Yes. I mean,
you can bounce off.
The plane doesn't. The plane does not explode. Yes. But if you want to steer a plane into some buildings, boy, there are a lot of people taking pictures online of them steering their planes into buildings. That was like the first thing I started seeing a wide variety of, including I think some people that are literally just like trolling their friends by flying into their houses and then sending them screenshots of it. I mean, look, it's 2020. We're all out of our minds. Yeah. So people
and also the game's on Game Pass. So it's it's so much more accessible to a wider array of, you don't have to like spend any additional money for that goof, right? You're just
except Game Pass, but yeah, right.
Except for Game Pass. I mean, if you're already in on that, then you're just like, well, yeah, of course I'm going to download this and crash on my friend's house. Because fuck that guy.
Yeah. So if you turn that stuff off, the plane does comically just bounce off the ground in a way that is just like
it looks like a child dropping a toy.
Yeah. It does. And
almost worse.
It's kind of fun because then you can do fun stuff like just land the plane upside down and skid it along the ground until you want it to be done. So that's. That all being said, some things that you might not know if you jump into this, there is a way to set that plane up to not start in the air or on the runway. You can start it parked, and then you can also go in, and it took me a while to find this, but I think it's neat if you're really there to kind of dig into some of the stuff. You can go in and do the checklist, the pre-flight checklist for the plane, and actually it'll show you, it's got a little an eyeball icon next to the thing, and you click that, it'll show you where the thing is, and usually has some flavor text to kind of help you out as well. So something like turn the fuel pump to on, and you're like, I don't know what the fuck the fuel pump is. You can click that, it'll point the camera at it and highlight it in blue, and then a lot of times it'll even have parentheses that's like, that means just pull the whole thing out, and which is very cool and neat. Yeah,
there's just so many like little, I tried doing the checklist stuff because it's just cool. It's cool, right?
Yeah.
This game is just straight up cool. And I turned the engine on and like this, I thought I was following, all these pre takeoff things. And I didn't realize that like part of pre-takeoff is the plane moving because the moment of takeoff is takeoff.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh shit, I only have a finite amount of time to finish, steps 11 through, steps like 2 through 12 before this thing takes off the goddamn ground. It is fun and horrifying at the same time because of the realism in which you are now aware of that a pilot must go through during, which I'm sure, obviously you're a professional fucking pilot, you got your shit together, but damn, that's wild. That's
Yeah,
some wild
the stuff that I realized, one horrifying thing pilots don't want you to know is that you can't really see shit when you're in the air.
Yeah.
Like there's a button I have mapped on my controller here that just peeks you up over the dashboard a little bit just so you could see out the window because, and everybody, I'm gonna promote Drew's other stream here just for a second because I learned a lot. He did a stream of X-Plane, which is a pretty serious flight sim for people who want to learn to fly, and he went through X-Plane with his trying to do what he would have to do to pass his flight test. I think was like go through the checklist, and what I learned from that is the numbers of the runway correspond to the heading of the runway. Because I was like, when you're flying and they're like land on runway 28, I'm like, I don't know which fucking runway is 28. I'm 3,000 miles up in the air. But that means the runway is aligned with heading 280, which if you get in the right heading, you'll see that. And I was like, oh, that's the kind of stuff they don't teach you in school. But that's the kind of stuff that like it wasn't necessarily in there, maybe in a tooltip. So I recommend watching that. It was kind of fun. They do have air traffic control. It seems pretty good. It's the computerized AI voice and you click a button that says respond. They do have weather and stuff like that on the I don't know what it's called, but over the radio. It's a lot of interesting things. If you want to jump in there and you have Game Pass and you're debating whether to get it, I would definitely try it out before you buy it because once you get through the tutorials, they have a couple of activities. Some are landing challenges. And some are flying using visual navigation, kind of looking at landmarks and flying. And you get achievements for those. You get scored on those. But after that, it's mostly pick a plane and fly. And if that's not up for you, if you just don't want to fly from airport to airport, kind of like a trucking game, like those trucking simulators. If you're not up for just trucking, I'm not sure how much that's going to be for you. It's not an action game. You're not in a MiG. You're not running around shooting things down.
Also, I'm going to say, as someone who's played a lot of these trucking simulators, those are a level of complicated several steps below what Flight Simulator is trying to do. Like, as much as there are definitely some things you have to do to drive a truck properly, it is nowhere near the level of complexity it seems like you have to do to even fly one of the basic planes in this game. Also, in the truck simulator games, there are not weird AI-generated obelisks coming out of random cities that you have to avoid from time to time.
Well, like, what's the pre-drive checklist in a trucking simulator? Is like you got to stuff in some chaw, punch 19 on the CB radio,
roll up your sleeves.
Yeah, make sure you know where the next Circle K is, Flying J, and that's pretty much it.
And it's not like you're flying here.
Look out for Smokey.
Yep.
Maybe someday they will allow mods that have like, hey, you're running a business here and you got to get this passenger, like Crazy Taxi or Cargo or whatever. But that is not there now. The other thing that's not there that I kind of wish were in there were, at least I didn't see it, plane customization. There was a point when I had played so much in that fucking Cessna, and I played at night and I'm turning the lights off, just kind of sitting back on the runway, parked, and it was like, you hear the crickets going because it's like nighttime out there. This time is all synced up. I just flown into LaGuardia, and I taxied off, and you get to turn all the lights off, and you're just kind of sitting in your plane, and there's nothing left to do, right? Like now I have to turn the game off. I don't know. I can't get out of the plane and do anything. I almost wish you can customize the plane in a way to be like, this is my plane. Like I put like a little pair of dice or something on the window. I'm sure they'll sell that at some point. But like, I want that same
put
plane.
anime ladies, like just let the Forza vinyl stuff come right in.
Import that.
Pringles can guy on the side of my plane. Was there any kind of like air traffic control chat built into the game? Any kind of voice chat type stuff?
So you can set some of this as well, but there is text to speech in it for that stuff. If you watch again, if you see Drew's stream on his Cloth Map YouTube channel, he subscribes to a service which is actual human beings who do air traffic control. And I didn't ask him. Maybe he said it wasn't in. I feel like I did ask him. That's a thing that may or may not be in the game. I'm not sure. That hooking those hooks for actual people doing air traffic control. But if you watch his stream, it's no joke. Those people are not fucking around. Like they're not there to goof off. They're there to, you have to be on it. And you see Drew get into a little bit of a thing with one of the air traffic controllers on that stream, which is kind of wild. But yeah, it's automated. Sometimes I feel like it doesn't do the text to speech, which is weird. Sometimes it'll just display it in a box and you just hear like and sometimes it reads it all out loud. There are things in there that if I invest in this game, I'm sure I will wind up at some point printing out a map for LaGuardia so that I know which way to taxi on all the runways and all that stuff. There are things that are not necessarily made for jumping between 35 different planes in 35,000 different airports every 5 minutes, right? Like there's some stuff you kind of have to do your homework on if you want to do this the right way. That being said, I'm probably going to spend money on this thing. I'm probably going to get a flight yoke and
probably. What are you even using?
Pedals and I've enjoyed it so much. I had the kids down here flying from across Long Island. My son landed a plane at Kennedy. It was just fun. They had fun doing it.
How did he land? I can't even.
He did it. He did it with no assist
land?
on. He did it. He was able to do it. He hit the brakes and was able to do it. And I tried it with my track IR. I didn't do it for the quick look because that sometimes makes people vomit. So I turned it off for that. But I can't wait to get in there and do some more of it. It's been a real blast checking it out. All I want to do is flip all the switches, and that's in that game. So I love flip. I want to flip switches. That's it. That's
okay.
Yeah. Again, it's on
Lowrider for the PlayStation 2. Hit them switches.
Hit them switches. Again, it's on Steam and on the Windows Store, and you can get it on the PC Game Pass. I think it's supposed to come out at some point on consoles, on the Xbox family of consoles, but that is not available right now. So try it out if you have that Game Pass. I'm curious how many people they get from putting it on Game Pass that are like, I really like flight sims, I guess. And turns out I'm way in on this. That store is going to be something, man. That store has the potential to be train simulator style of Microsoft now makes the majority of its money from flight simulator store stuff. It's got already so many things in it that you can buy. And it's wild. I think even more airports and more detailed stuff. Third-party developers are already in that store, and it's wild. The other thing I finished up, there's a quick look up. Well, not finished, but finished enough to do the quick look is Other Side. Very briefly, I talked about it a little bit last week. Tactical RPG. The main hook on that one is it's timeline based. So you go in with 3 characters. The enemies are all on an initiative timeline along the bottom. And you're basically managing as you play this game where you're going to fall in the timeline. After you take an action, it's going to set you somewhere else on the timeline. And this is very basic overview, but you're going to try and manage when your next turn is to make sure an enemy's not going to hit you before you can hit them. That's the essentials of it. It's pretty neat. It's a run-based game. It's a rogue light, whatever you want to call it. So you'll go a certain amount through, realize you're not going to make it on this run, or you're going to die on this run, restart with some extra stuff. You're gonna restart your next run with some buffs and some abilities there. It's neat. You have 3 characters. At least the amount I played was only 3 characters at a time. There are 3 different classes. You can go check out the quick look for more on that. But I liked it the more I went on. Really kind of didn't like it at first, then realized what it was trying to do and trying to accomplish, and was respected that it was at least unique in that sense. Some other timeline-based tactical RPGs, I mean, even Chimera Squad had an initiative order instead of your turn goes and that turn goes. So I'm not necessarily thrilled with that if that's the way all of this stuff is going, but you can't keep doing the same thing over and over again. Paper Mario, continuing with that, and then Factorio 1.0. Factorio's out.
Wow, they did
folks. Factorio has been released. I then
Finally.
had to download. Luckily, the website, the main website for Factorio, lets you download previous versions because you cannot import your saves from your old maps right into 1.0. It only goes a couple of versions back. So my saves were from version 12.
Oh, wow.
And this is version 1.0, which I think the last numbered version was 18 or something, 0.18. So I had to download like 3 different versions to step up my saves each time, and you just get this big old list of like, this ain't in the game anymore, man. So I'll take a look at that. I have also started over, so I'm gonna dig into that and see what's new in 1.0. Playing it, I love Factorio.
Mm-hmm.
I love that game. I played it.
It does the right thing to your brain.
It really does. I played it. I was playing with my little brother. We were both playing co-op together. I think that's a load of fun for a very particular thing. If you don't know what Factorio is, it is a building.
Say you just make it a factory, right?
You make it it's a survival game where you're making a factory. Sometimes that factory is building ammunition and turrets because there are bugs and stuff coming after you. Sometimes you're building a car to drive around the map and do other stuff. So it is a survival factory building game that is kind of top down and it's pretty wild. Alex Navarro, pick it up.
Yes.
What you got going on?
I got a couple of things here. I just started on this last night, and I've not gotten too far into it, but I'm actually quite into it. Is Spiritfarer, which is a side-scrolling game with some I don't know, I'd say light platform mechanics, but for the most part, it is more of a I don't even know what to call it, like a management game of sorts. So you are the Spiritfarer. The game does not waste much time in getting the setup going, but like basically your job is to be the person who ferries people to the other side.
Okay. Sharon, the river Styx. Karen. Okay.
Yeah. So Karen is the one you take over from. It's a big guy in a giant hood with a stick, and but he's actually very nice. And he's just like, I gotta go. So you're doing this now. This is your job. You got to go find a boat. Once you find a boat, you just got to start doing this. So you get a boat. You can start building things on that boat. Like I built like a kitchen so that I can make food for the spirits that come to head.
It was there. Right?
Yeah, like I'm going to build a garden so I can grow some stuff. But the immediate thing with this game, it has a very nice art style, but like in general, the feel of it is very cozy. It's very nice. It doesn't waste a lot of time getting you started. And it's like mechanically it feels pretty light. Everyone just seems chill so far. Like it's maybe down the road I'll run into some more problematic spirits, but like right now it seems like everyone has a kind of base level pleasantness that I'm finding very agreeable. It has a very nice feel to it, and what you're doing in the game does not seem terribly complicated, but it is engaging enough that I feel like I could see myself like just losing a few hours at a time to this thing. So
Spiritfarer.
Yes, it is on Game Pass if you have that. So that is where I'm playing it on the Xbox, and it looks real nice. And I'm like I said, I've only played like an hour and change of it, but so far I really dig it.
Game Pass, baby.
That Game Pass.
It's pretty good.
Anything else, Alex?
Yeah, and Jeff, you and I can talk a little bit about this one. I played a bunch of that Tony Hawk demo.
T-Hawk's demo. Tell me about it.
Came around the end of last week. It is just the warehouse, the newly designed warehouse. It is 2-minute runs. Just get the high score you can. I am rusty as shit at Tony Hawk, is what I've learned. I do not have the same mojo I had at the height of my Tony Hawk playing days. But I will say, after a few runs, I started to put it back together. Like the sense memory started coming back. And like, I'm not getting giant high scores or anything, but I started cracking the 6-figure scores pretty quickly. And now I feel like, okay, I've got something here. I can play this again.
Tell me, there's something going on with, I forget, like, were you able to get faster in the old one? Like you would level up your character, right? And you would be like way faster than you rightfully should be.
Yeah, there's different games did it differently, where you would collect stat points out in the world, or you'd collect cash that you would spend on the stat points. Like the characters in this do still have stats, and it's all the same stats, like speed, air, your jumping, like your ollie ability, skating switch, as well as you skate normal, rail balance, lip balance, like all those things are still there. And then like the thug games, or maybe it was just one of them, it was like the more you did a certain thing, the more that thing leveled up. So if you did a grind for X number of seconds, you would hop off the rail and land it, and you'd be like, your grind just went up, and you'd be like, oh great,
interesting.
Which means you could just like, you could max out, or they artificially prevented you from maxing out the stats in the first level, but you could definitely just like, I'm gonna hang out here and just nail these things down to get as high as I can before I move on.
Yeah,
because that was the first thing that came back to me, was like, I remember being in this warehouse map and just freaking going through that warehouse like over and over and over, and then playing this demo, I'm just like, oh, I can get up there every now and then and maybe land something and whatnot. But yeah, I assume, like, obviously in the full version, it's going to be that kind of same story. But
well, my question,
I'm into it.
Yeah, is everybody into it?
I like it.
It feels
right.
It feels good. Like they did not fuck up the feel of that game the way the last couple attempts at Tony Hawk stuff have felt bad. Like this, I was able to slide back into my old habits, control wise, both good and bad for those games, and feel like I was doing what I used to be able to do before. And it looks nice. Like, it doesn't look over the top polished, but it definitely looks like a modernish skating game, and like the way they have aged up Tony Hawk, I think is both right and a little bit hilarious.
Yeah, it's I really like the look of it. It's got HDR, and I think the lighting in that warehouse is really nice. With all that stuff turned on, and yeah, it feels good. So they've added the trick systems, or they've added a lot of tricks to that game from later Tony Hawk games. Like, if this was just Tony Hawk 1 and 2, you wouldn't even be able to revert. And they said, like, oh, you'll be able to revert. But I thought it was going to stop there. But it's got, like, you can do the acid drop. You can mash the grind buttons while you're in a grind to branch to different grinds and do all that shit. And, like, and you can do the wall plant kind of sticker slap thing from the Thug games to kind of kick off a wall and keep a combo going. Like, kind of the only thing you can't do is get off the board, which is fine.
Yeah, that was the worst thing they added.
Yeah. But this is like a much more fully featured trick system than you would normally have in these levels. And I thought that was an interesting choice that I wasn't expecting, but like after playing it for a while, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, it's actually kind of neat that they have this, because it kind of just lets you go nuts. And if you are like super stickler for the tricks that were the tricks, you can turn it down to just Tony Hawk 2 or Tony Hawk 1 mode.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Which I don't see why. Just don't do the other tricks, I guess. But just whatever. There's no penalty or no benefit to turning those things off, really. But yeah, I saw some very loose. Like I think it feels good. I'm not going to sit here and tell you it feels like 1-to-1 with the original game, because I don't think it does. And I think people that are looking for just like the exact physics and all other stuff might not be as into it, but I think they've done a really nice job. I'm really, really looking forward to it.
Yeah.
And they did little cool things that are maybe a little weird at first that I think play out, that pan out really well. Like, there's a lot of voice clips while Tony is skating.
Like Tony?
And they are all identifiable as Tony Hawk, being like, like, like making all the noises.
Oh, the bail sounds, man.
Yeah, his voice, right? Like, his voice.
Exactly. It's Tony Hawk. Like, you hear a lot of,
they got him in the booth
vocalizing. Yeah. A lot of vocalizing of just like grunts and little things here and there that I thought really added to it. And I thought that was pretty neat. But yeah, there are little differences and stuff here and there about just some of the timing and angles and this sort of thing, I'm sure. But but I don't think they're setting out to make exactly those games. But I think they have done the thing of like, they have managed to make it feel like the thing in your head that you kind of think it should feel like, which is what Tony Hawk HD fucked up.
Yeah. I mean, it gets
that felt off in a bad way.
It gets the Tony Hawk flow right. Like, that's, even like you said, even if it isn't the exact physics, the exact control mechanics that you remember, like you can, whatever Tony Hawk brain you had at one point that allowed, like, whatever your trick flow was in that game, I felt like I was able to slide right back into that, which is really the only thing I ask from any of these games.
Yeah. It's kind of wild. Like, it's 20 years, right, since that first game came out. So you're
99.
So you're just like, I don't know. For me, it's one of the first times where I'm just like, yep, this is really the time that this feels good to have this thing back. What do you guys think about the computer glitch, fall down, get back up thing? Would you rather see Tony Hawk splitting his head wide open, or are you okay that he turns into he enters the Matrix temporarily?
I super love it. I don't know.
I think it's weird. It's weird, but good.
Weird thing, but it gets you back on the board faster, because it does kind of speed things up just to get you back playing the game faster, which is I think why I like it.
Yeah.
And Yeah, I think that would be cool if they did like unlockable different visual effects or something like that.
Yes,
But I
if you
think
could
the thing
just
they put in there I thought was kind of
burst
cool.
into confetti or something like that. Like that
Yeah.
might be really a lot of fun. And I have it in my head that like if I mash the button, I can speed up that animation too.
In some of those games, you could.
Yeah,
Yes,
for
absolutely.
sure.
That was the thing they did. So
No, but I'm loving it. I like I wish it's weird. Like I feel like there's a part in this warehouse level that you might be able to get out of, right? And I
think
see
so
it,
too.
and
I
I've
think
been
so
like
too.
slamming poor Tony against the fucking wall for 2 minutes at a time.
You're trying to free him from his digital prison,
from his warehouse prison, which has no doors that are accessible aside from the ones that I think you can get out of.
I saw a seam on one of those
Yeah.
doors that was just like, wait
Yeah.
a minute, that wouldn't be there unless this was something that was going to open up. But I bet it's just not in the demo.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
We'll have more on Tony Hawk when Tony Hawk makes his grand debut. When? Later this year.
2 weeks.
Okay, in 2 weeks. Look out for that. Alex, you good?
Yeah, that's what I've been playing.
Okay, Jeff, what about these Battletoads? Jeff, what about these Battletoads?
I didn't play
Sing me a ballad of the Battletoad.
Oh boy,
What's up with Zits, Pimple, and Rash?
Well, they've been locked in some kind of stasis for 20 plus 30 years or whatever it was, and now they're free. That's the storyline of new Battletoads.
Okay.
It's really bad.
Oh no!
Oh no!
It is
really. All right. Hold
really
on
bad.
a second. Hold on. Take a break for a second. Do you
Wait,
like?
you mean
do you like Battletoads? Original.
No.
Okay.
But I think that they have done a bad job of capturing original Battletoads too.
Wait, so it's bad, but not because it captures original Battletoads.
Exactly.
Okay.
They have not made like this like super faithful like homage to original Battletoads per se. Like it evokes Battletoads for sure. The thing that they've tried to do is offer a lot of like genre variety from level to level, which I think is like a neat trick. And so the first level is just like you are running to the right and punching things, and they've got a, you basically you've got a launcher so you can launch and juggle guys. You've got a charge up that will break the block on a blocking enemy and open them up for more damage. But at the same time, I feel like all of that combat feels terrible. And they do things like, poof, here's going to be 4 of the exact same enemy coming at you at the same time. Or in the first level of the game, you fight the same boss 3 times. And the storyline reason is he just like the boss just looks at you and goes, bye, literally, and then runs away. And then you have to run through more of the level, fight more generic enemies, and then you get to fight that exact same boss again. And it's just like, this doesn't fly anymore. This never should have flown, in fact. And then from there, basically, like that whole level is a fantasy sequence, and then they are unearthed and they wake up and they're not superstars and they have to go get day jobs. And so you've got like a little sequence where you're like, one of them is typing on a computer and you have to hit the 2 bumpers to simulate typing and then hit another button to make them beat on the computer when it breaks and all this sort of stuff. And you get rated based on how well you hit those buttons. And then the next level is, there's a vehicle sequence, like behind the back kind of speeder bike level. And it's like simultaneously like the sense of speed in it is garbage. Like it just looks like you're barely moving, but also some of the barriers are coming at you in such a pattern that it actually is like a little bit trickier to dodge them than you would think for the sense of speed that you're seeing. Also, the sequence really, really long in a way that you're just like, what are we doing? Everything has this like really like flat flash game-ish sort of look to it. I mean, like this game looks, so the thing I realized pretty early on playing it is this game feels like something that would have come out back when Xbox Live Arcade was putting out 1 game a week. And sometimes the game came out and you're like, God, this is shit. I hope next week's game's better. Like it feels like that, like, you missed the summer of arcade just by a week though, because your game just didn't make it in because it just wasn't quite good enough. It's got like that vibe going for it, against it, whatever. And yeah, I just I was we saw it at E3, and I looked at it for a while there and was just like, this doesn't look great, but like I am surprised by just how not great it is. Because then you eventually get back into combat, and they've added a bunch of controls where it's like, because you can use your tongue to pick up flies to regain health. You can also use your tongue to grab an enemy and pull it into you. So they've got like a lot of different controls at your disposal, but none of it ends up being a situation where you're like, okay, I need to hold down the left trigger and then hit X, but hold it down if I want them to pull into me, tap it if I want to go to them. If it's a collectible or a fly, I need to hit Y instead of X to pull to use my tongue. So there's like 2 different controls for 2 different types of tonguing. A bunch of stuff like that. You're just like, this isn't complicated in like a fun fighting game kind of way. It's like complicated in a, like, it didn't need this. Like, you should have reined it in and tried to focus on making just the basic core of it fun. And they just so don't make it. It's like astounding.
It's I assume this is on Game Pass.
Yeah,
Okay.
It is.
I'll try it.
So that changes the calculus for it a lot, I think. Where it's just like, they don't have to care if it's good. It's just here's another thing that's on Game Pass. I mean, obviously
some people don't have
Game
Pass. Some people have to sell some copies.
Don't buy Battletoads. much like
take that money and get Game Pass.
Yeah, exactly. There's like better things you could be doing with that money than buying Battletoads. I mean, it's the same thing when Crackdown 3 came out, and it was just like, God, this is not a thing people should spend full price type of money on. And I don't actually know how much Battletoads is, but it's the same type deal of just like on Game Pass, you're like, why not?
Right.
You could download this and fuck with it for a while and be like, okay, all right, I'm never going to touch this ever again.
But I'm getting any amount of actual money is too much money for this.
That is absolutely my take on it. Is like for $0 additional dollars, hey, download Battletoads and give it a shot. If only to go like, woof, boy, wow, that's the thing they did, huh? But do not spend money on Battletoads.
Go buy some Ninja Turtles instead. They're the knockoff Battletoads. They got different names and everything. They're turtles instead of toads, but you'll like it. Jeff, tell me about Rogue Legacy. Oh, sorry. Jeff Gerstmann, tell me about Rogue Legacy 2.
It's good. It is in early access though, so it's a fairly limited look at what I assume the final game will be. Insofar as like it might not have any bosses in it. Like I've gotten to, in Rogue Legacy 1, you would get to like the doors or whatever, the areas that would go to the other biome or the other zone, and you would eventually fight a boss in there and clear that one out and do the others. I've gotten to one of those doors and it was just like it didn't seem to open. So I suspect that maybe that is what is early access about it.
Gotcha.
And they've updated the graphical style to a more cartoonish kind of look as opposed to like a deliberately old video game look. And I think it looks fine. They have you have to get to the end where a boat where this is where Charon, he's there too.
My favorite.
Yeah, double Charons this week. Yeah, there's it just doesn't seem like there's maybe a ton to it right now insofar as it's early access, but I think the foundation seems solid. And they did that thing that like what other games? Hades did it, where they're just like when you launch Rogue Legacy 2, it says like, hey, there's going to be a patch in about 59 days. Like they're trying to be very like,
upfront.
Hey, this is how we're handling early access and all this other stuff. And it's got the upgrade tree that you get gold that you can spend in the castle to do more permanent upgrades to your guys, but a lot of the skill, like there are not a lot of things to buy there. You eventually get to a point where it's just like this will be unlocked in a future patch.
Okay, so this is early access. Be buyer beware,
yes.
And
it is not enough. It is maybe not enough content to be something that I don't think I'll spend a lot of time with it in its current form.
Right, because
it seems cool.
Do they have notifications that's like, hey, you might lose your progress or things might change in the course of this? Or
I didn't see that.
Okay.
But I guess anything's possible.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's still a lot of the same stuff about like, oh, your offspring, your next character, when your character dies, will have different traits and stuff like that. I got one that was pacifist, and it was just like, you can't attack.
Yeah.
Okay.
You have no sword. It's like, well, wait a minute. And so that's a hard one.
Just become a merchant.
Yeah, no, just run to the right and sell stuff, I guess. No, there's one that gives it like kind of almost like a pixely Game Boyish look. There's a lot of different traits, some new, some returning, and it's hey, they made another Rogue Legacy. Like a lot of the stuff that you see in that original game, you look at it here and you go like, okay, this is the same basic concepts are at play here. They've just seemed to be setting the stage to do more.
Rogue Legacy, very popular game. Very popular game.
Hell of a game.
Rogue Legacy 2, any map in terms of when that's supposed to come out, or are they not saying that?
The next patch is in 58-ish days.
Okay. All right. Keep your ears open to that. That's so 2 months from now, at least for version 1.1 or 0.1.1.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. And are you playing that on Steam, or is that has that hit any like the Xbox early access stuff or any of the console?
I don't believe so. I think it may just be on Steam, and I believe it is on the Epic Store as well.
Okay.
But it is on Steam. I know that much.
And this Jeff Gerstmann, I'm just curious because I don't think anybody here has touched it yet. You played some of the Avengers?
Yeah.
And you loved it. And you loved it.
Game of the year, man.
Okay.
Number one Avengers fan.
Well, I was worried what we were going to do for Game of the Year, but now I'm glad to know that.
Problem solved. So I have a complicated history with superhero games where I think like superheroes themselves are not great, but sometimes the games can be. Like I was a big Marvel Heroes fan. I like Marvel Ultimate Alliance 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
And I like service games like a Destiny and that sort of stuff. So like in some world, there is some world where Avengers checks every box for what I'm looking for in a modern video game.
How about this one?
Like Captain America flinging his shield and it bouncing off a bunch of guys and coming back to you. And you're going, yeah, I fucked all those guys up.
Yeah. I can move.
Yes. It's it does not I think it looks pretty bad. Like the environments are super generic, the enemies are really generic, like even the playable characters are generic in a sense where it's like they seem to be going towards a template of sorts where you've got I'm the character that is like a fisticuffs fighter and here's what I do. And so like Black Widow and Captain America are not that different from what little you get to see of Captain America in the beta anyway.
Okay.
You've got a flying character with like a Tony Stark. You've got a big character that can grab walls and run on walls in the Hulk, and stuff like that. It's some of the worst like hit feedback and damage feedback.
Well, that's bad
that I've seen in a video game in a pretty long time overall. But on top of that, like the character archetype thing is almost like it's almost like the Lego games in a way. Where you've got like any character of this type can solve this puzzle.
Sure.
Because we need someone that's got a rope of some kind who can swing and grapple. Like, okay, well, Black Widow's got her grappling thing. Spider-Man will certainly have something like that, assuming you get the right version of the game.
Right.
And all that sort of stuff. But I think just like overall, it's just like really underwhelming loot. What they're showing of the skill tree, and it seems like there'll be more skill trees in the final game.
Oh, good. That's what that game was missing.
Exactly. Yeah, like a few more menus if we just get that in there. It just the skill tree stuff just doesn't feel inspired or interesting. It's more like, oh, now you can do the move you'll do if you hit attack after you dodge.
Right.
Or here's like a running it. And for some of those, like the Hulk does a thing where once you unlock it, if you're running at full speed and you hit heavy attack, he just kind of jumps up and falls on a guy head first, which looks real dumb, but I at least appreciated how stupid it looked. It's got like if we said it on the Bombcast, or I think Ben said it on the Bombcast this week, that it has a real GameCube ass HUD where like the powers, you have 3 powers per character that'll show up in the lower right corner. And there's these big circles and it doesn't necessarily tell you what you need to do to fill up the circles so that you can use the abilities again, whether that's like it's just a standard cooldown or you're fighting to gain resource to get the abilities. Like I spent some time with that game, and Ben spent even more. Either of us, I don't think I was quite figured out like what do you do to do the powers other than what do you do to get your power meters filled. I'm not quite sure. Yeah, I don't know. Like I could go on and on and on, but like I think the main point is like I am much like with Battletoads, though maybe more so, considering how long this game's been in development, and I think what the opportunity is for a superhero focused kind of live service action RPG thing. What I think that opportunity is and how good a game like that potentially could be. It just feels like they've missed so many different marks that you're just like, wow, how are you going to put this out in like a month? Like it's out in September, I think. And it's surprising.
Well, apparently Square Enix on their earnings call said that they have very high expectations for that game, which I don't know about that.
I think EA said that about Anthem too, didn't they?
Yes, they did.
But also, like, you know, like think about the notion of just like how many people these days are just so over invested in all this superhero shit that they're just gonna get it.
Yeah, right. And that's probably me. I am speaking of missing the marks, I'm kind of a superhero game mark. So like that's a wrestling term, right? Did I use that correctly?
Sure. Yeah,
okay. Yeah. So like
it means sucker, by the way.
Yeah. That's right. So yeah, I don't know. Like I'm not all the way in that far, but I'm, even though I've heard middling things about it, middling to bad, I'm still very curious about it. So
yeah, I get it. Like there is, I think that's you know, the numbers go up, right? Like you get a different chest piece that does not reflect on your character because they want to sell cosmetics. So like when you equip new armor, it does not make you look any different. But the number goes up.
Oh, I do like
the
cosmetic stuff.
Now I'm 13. Now I'm 13 instead of I was 11 before. Yeah, so like those games sometimes just the loot games get their hooks in you. That's what they're there for.
Yeah,
it's insidious, but that's what they do. So I get it. Like there are going to be people that like play this game, hate it every step of the way, but somehow find themselves putting 50 hours into it
because the numbers went up.
You know,
yeah,
because the numbers went up.
Yeah,
like it's just enough where they're just like, I don't know. I guess like Captain America seems all right, even though he dies in the prologue. So
right.
I don't know when they're gonna do that sort of stuff or what they do there. But story wise, I'm not sure. Also story wise, like the narration comes from Ms. Marvel, Kamala Khan, and she, I guess this is like canon to how the character is these days in comics, but she has won a fan fiction contest, and is a big fan of the Avengers, and then through the events of the opening of the game somehow gets superpowers, and so she is now so like the story so far has been told through her eyes of just like, I can't believe I get to walk around the helicarrier. This is just peachy, and it's a bit much. It's some eye rolling ass shit left and right on that stuff, which some people may be into. But I was like, God damn, fandom. Am I right? No, not even fandom.
Welcome to the fandom. That's September, right? Isn't that
Yeah,
yes.
That is
that's weeks away at this point.
If you give me another couple of seconds here,
that's week 4th.
So it's Tony Hawk. It's Tony Hawk 1 and Tuesday.
Oh no!
Except I think the 4th is a Friday. Same day as Tony Hawk. Good luck, Avengers.
Well, I think like you said, this has you put an Avengers game out, people are going to buy it. So
yes, exactly. Like I don't know if you know this, but the Avengers, the Marvel, the comic, the Marvel is very hot right now.
Very hot. Maybe not as hot. Maybe not.
Well, no one, and also now no one can go to the movies to see the primary Marvel output. So maybe they're jonesing for it even more. I don't know.
I mean, I feel like how can it not really sell well? It has every opportunity to do that. Like you just said, it is in a position right now where it almost will most certainly.
It may not matter that game is bad.
Yeah.
It may be just enough of a convergence of licenses and whatever else.
But similar to other games of that type, it seems like they are going almost out of their way to ensure that the only reason that game will succeed is on the coasting power of the license and what people expect from, superhero games. Like, there is nothing about what they have shown and what they have demonstrated with that game that is compelling on its own without that license attached to it. Like, nothing about it sounds that exciting.
Yeah. I'll tell you this. Ms. Marvel was interesting to play because her hands get all stretchy and big, which I thought was like fun. And also, not to just compare a full released game to a demo, but that's exactly what I'm going to do here. I had more fun with Anthem.
Okay. Wow.
Okay. That's a sentence.
I had more fun with Anthem.
Okay.
Than with
Whew.
this.
All right.
Put that on Anthem's box. Nobody had said
Better
that
than
yet.
the Avengers.
Or just put I had more fun with Anthem, end quote,
right
in the back of the box. Jeff Gerstmann, anything else you want to talk about before we move on to the other Jeff in the room?
Moose Life.
Oh, Moose Life.
Jeff Minter's new game, Moose Life, is out on Steam. More people should take a look at Moose Life if you liked Polybius. Moose Life is more of that in terms of nonsense garbage on the screen flying at your face at all times.
Okay.
In this one, you play as a moose who shoots, and you're on two planes. You can start at the bottom and flip to the top, and enemies will attack you on both.
Okay.
And then when you shoot enough guys, pills will fly at you, and pills give you power-ups like hippie shots.
Oh.
Or stag party, which makes all these, and when you kill enemies, they turn into stags, and you can surround yourself with protective giraffes, and it's a Jeff Minter game.
Okay. Any
and it has VR support. I've not tried the VR stuff on it, but it like
it's wild
before it seems fun.
Moose Life.
Moose Life.
Moose Life.
Steam.
Jeff Bakalar.
Man,
we went through a lot of stuff there. What
I've got
else?
different stuff. I'm good.
Okay.
I just shit. You say you said VR. I haven't since that fucking thing that happened to me. I have not put on that headset since.
What's the thing?
When I got with the bone works.
Oh, since you got sick.
And I got all fucking fucked up.
Yeah.
That really did.
Get back on your VR horse, man.
Did Boneworks get you sick and then like thumb its nose at you and just call you a coward? Because I feel like that's the whole Boneworks attitude, is just like, we're gonna make it fucking intense, and if you can't handle it, fuck you, man.
Yeah, almost like to the T there. That's exactly what happened. And then someone told me you could play it sitting down, and I feel like that's definitely the way to do it. But at the same time, I'm now scared to put that on my head. So the trauma has already taken place, and I'm not sure I can muster the willpower to get it back on. But we'll see. I mean, look, it's what is it? It's August. We'll be here forever. So maybe
it is in fact August.
That's true. In the time frame of forever, who knows? Who knows what'll happen?
Yeah, that's all. This is only 6 months in. We're fine.
Only 6 months in.
So,
what else you got?
Almost 6 months. So I've been doing a lot more xCloud, and look, I've been attaching my Android phone to my Xbox with a little clippy clip.
You're both Jeffs here are holding up things onto the camera. I don't like it. This
one's good. You forget how heavy your phone is until it's mounted to your controller. Let me tell you that. So I've had mixed. There you go. I've had mixed results.
Okay.
And I guess that was expected. I played to start off. I started playing Ori. Just really go. What is that? A pixel? Is that a pixel?
Yeah, Google sent these over when the Stadia launched, and I used it to play the xCloud stuff.
Okay. I've been playing Ori a lot with it, and I do mean to, because I am also making a video for CNET, and I need to get back onto Stadia just to do like a 1-to-1 kind of thing. The last time I played Stadia was maybe like a month ago, and I did like a Steam dig thing there. There is this lag that I just can't. You learn to deal with it, right? You learn to play like that. It's a little delayed. It's you're talking milliseconds, but most people I think can discern that difference, and you just sort of live with it and you play it, and you're like, hey, well, I don't have a console in my lap, so that's neat. And you're playing it, and for me, like going back to playing Ori on my console to xCloud, it that one-to-one comparison, it's kind of no contest, and I think like look, that's just where we are with streaming gaming right now. I'm not going to sit here and say it's not the future. It obviously is a big part of the future, but as it stands right now, it's just not happening.
But the
So
other
what you're saying is we still have time to stop this future if we want to.
well, no, I don't think we can stop it. But
the other thing that's I think important. Maybe it will make a difference. Maybe it will not. But you're clearly playing on wireless, so this is not plugged in to a fat Ethernet cable. This is on your phone.
Would you call my Ethernet cable
a fat Ethernet cable, like a PH, like it's got all the bandwidth.
Pretty hot and tempting. Okay, all right.
Yeah. So you haven't tried this on a device that is plugged into the wall, let's say.
Well, shit, I don't know if you even can. Yeah.
Right. Like it only works on Android phones.
You know what I could do?
No.
No, that wouldn't work either.
Okay.
I was gonna you could create like an Android environment on your PC and maybe do it that way.
Like some kind of
which is
BlueStacks it up.
Yeah, that sounds like a fool's errand.
But yeah, I'm not gonna fucking do that. No, but not for this video at least. But yeah, let's keep that in the back of your head.
Sure.
I played Horizon. Horizon is also the lag is a problem. I also have a problem driving in that game because I'm just not very fluent in that game.
Oh, Horizon. Okay, Horizon.
Forza Horizon.
Yeah, Forza Horizon. Gotcha. Okay.
I was gonna say I've heard bad things about the Horizon PC port as well. So when you said it had lag, I'm like, I guess maybe. Yeah.
You know what was there licensed music in that game?
Yes.
It's not in the xCloud version.
What is in the xCloud version?
Just like hip vaporwave stuff.
That might all be licensed stuff. So in the most recent Forza Horizon, you unlock more stations as you get deeper into the game. So like you unlock like hospital radio, which is like that's a record label.
I don't know. Maybe I'm just not seeing it, but I don't know if there is radio stuff in the game. In the maybe I'm just not digging deep enough.
I thought the whole xCloud thing was these are just the games you're playing, and Stadia had the different versions, but I thought xCloud was these are just the games. I don't know, Bacalar.
You guys could be right. I'm just curious. I need to go and Gerstmann's gonna fire it up right now to check.
He needs to know.
Yeah, but I think it might be a thing. I don't know. I also, when I first thought I realized this, I was like, well, how could that be a thing? Like, why would there be a difference between a license for the streaming version and
that seems
I don't know. Anyway, I also the game I have enjoyed playing the most on xCloud is Streets of Rage 4.
Okay.
It's kind of low fidelity. It is maybe not as twitchy reliant as like an FPS or something like that, and I'm having fun with it. And I've decided where last time I said, I'm gonna finish the new Ori game on xCloud, not doing that shit anymore.
Okay.
Doing Streets of Rage 4, which I feel like I'll just knock out in a couple sittings, and and then the finale of this conversation is playing Halo 5 is to me borderline unplayable. Just with how sort of desyncing and detaching that lag is. I also find that, and maybe something's going on, but like my ADS is like stopping. Like I'll aim down sights, and then all of a sudden
it took me a second. ADS. Gotcha.
It's just gone. Like I'll be playing and I zoom in to aim down the sights and I'm shooting, and I don't lift my finger or anything. But like I don't know if it's like a Bluetooth thing or whatever it is, but that button binding disappears.
Wait, you can't do it anymore?
Like, it's not that I can't do it anymore. I have to like redo it.
Oh, so it's only holding it for a while.
It forgets that you're holding the button.
Yeah. So I don't know if that's like I can only keep track of 3 things at once. I don't know if that's a thing. I don't know. Again, beta. Again, it's beta. This is beta.
Mm-hmm.
That's out pretty soon too. I mean,
sure.
I think
it's out in like
I look at it,
a month.
I look at that stuff and say like of course it's gonna feel like that sometimes. Yeah. But we also live in a world where people are playing Fortnite on a phone and being like, "Yeah," and so
not anymore.
Hey man, I got how much you gonna give me? This phone has Fortnite on it. All right, great. We're starting at 3,500. Who's gonna? Now I'm like over here going like, oh, I better launch this xCloud stuff and see what happens. Because well, whatever. I'll check later. But this Forza thing, now I'm just like, now I have to know, because if they have some weird thing
before I make some awful statement on this video. But yeah, it's I said this last week. I do think overall the presentation is pretty solid. It's to me like when you open up the xCloud, I'm sorry, the Game Pass app, like it all presents a very compelling, sort of situation. There are a lot of solid games on there. There's a Gears game on there. I just think like a lot of people are going to be comparing this to Stadia, and there's like a good amount of like Xbox first party stuff that you're just sort of stoked about, I guess, in a way that maybe Stadia just doesn't have right now. I think trying to do like a 1-to-1 comparison is maybe just not going to net out something that's fair, I think.
Do you think Stadia's got the advantage?
It's tough. Again, like I said, I have to go back and really do again, and I will be doing that with a wired connection, right?
Right.
So like,
yeah, that could make a difference.
What if you sideloaded the xCloud APK onto like there's an Android device that has an Ethernet port on it. There's some Android TV. There's got to be some crap like that.
I bet the phone has an Ethernet adapter you plug in, right? Android does anything.
Yeah,
they'll let anybody in.
You could you know what? I have a USB to Ethernet, a USB-C to Ethernet adapter, so I guess I could do this. I also figure out a way, like I said last week, I think I touched on it briefly, that I have a USB-C wire to HDMI. Okay. And I tried to do this whole operation on my TV, and I'm not going to do that again. It's look, like I said, the value prop here is that it's just this add-on thing right now, and I think for me that's just like this bonus kind of win, and I think Game Pass is in a really good spot currently anyway. So to me, this doesn't necessarily subtract from that.
Yeah, I think for me, there's a value proposition in not necessarily selling that service on its own, but having it be a thing that if I want to play a game and I decided too late or it didn't preload or I just decided to play it, to be able to play that game instantly while it downloads in the background for me that's a neat thing that if I didn't have to pay for that on its own as like, I play all my games on the cloud. No, I play them immediately and wait until it downloads and then I switch over to play it on the real thing. That's a neat thing.
Yeah, and I still have to do like the old like, oh, I wonder how much faster is this compared to playing it locally. So I'll do that kind of boot up time comparison sort of thing.
It sounds like you're busy over there. Sounds like you're busy.
Yeah, I'm just playing around with it. Not like anything else going on this week. So and so that's sort of what I've been doing. That video should be out next week. And I've also had an interesting generational crossover experience this week. I was hanging out with my kid, and we were look at this guy blowing the dust off this Xbox controller. I had unearthed a bin of old technology, and I guess this isn't that old, but I was with my son and he saw all kinds of exciting things like a Palm Pilot and an alarm clock and a film one-click camera that he was just like, get this bullshit out of here. All these fun things that he just made fun of and made me feel really old about. But then he came across a Nintendo 3DS and I knew I fucked up almost immediately. Because the 3DS is very, new in, considerably speaking. And man, he took to that thing like a fucking fish to water, and he has been playing. Okay, so this is what's really cool, I guess, is number one, the battery worked.
Nice.
Like this thing's been in a bin for God knows how long, probably since I moved, and it was just 2 years ago now. And he turned it on and he launched a game right away with no help from me whatsoever. And the first game he started was this game called Fluidity. Do you remember this game? This is a deep cut, I think.
No, I do not. It's no.
It is a game where you use the gyroscope to sort of move water around a level, and he just thought that was the coolest thing in the world. And you know what, it is pretty damn cool, especially if you're 5. And he's super into it, and he's been holding on to it for like 3 days now.
Oh wow.
And playing it. And my wife is not happy with me, but yeah, we're trying to make this like only in the car, and that's not
wow, even okay,
slippery slope. But yeah, I mean, he's obviously always going to go back to Rocket League anyway, so we know that's not very far. But yeah, I thought that was really cool. He found a Discman and was just like, Dad, I think I know how this works. I like gave him a CD and I gave him a Discman. And I'm like, do it. And he's like, okay, I think you're probably going to listen to the music on this. Like it was really fun. Again, all these things I should be filming, but also maybe you enjoy a fucking intimate moment with your son. And,
wait,
sure.
Yeah. And
you can always watch this podcast back, years later, to you telling the story.
Exactly. That'll be just as good.
Just as good.
And then you stage it later on and film it. And then that's
well, the cat's out of the bag here.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's about it in terms of actual games I've been playing. I just downloaded Pga Tour 2K21.
Okay.
So I'm
that's out soon. Yeah.
That's out tomorrow, I believe. I kind of slept on it a little bit and didn't realize I had access to it. So I want to play that game because I do like golf. I do like golf games. I haven't been able to like a golf game in a while. It's from the developer, I believe, responsible for the Golf Club.
The Golf Club.
And
right. Yes,
it is.
And I have opinions on those games, and we'll see how this works. We'll hopefully be able to report back next week with just what I find. I know my friends and I they're sort of like, do we get this so we can all play this together? Is this what we're going to be doing now? And I'll be like, I'll let you know. Finally, aside from watching Dark, which I am blasting through, and I just am so in love with that show, but I also caught something on Netflix called High Score. Have you guys heard of this?
Oh, I heard a little about this, yes.
I've heard mixed things.
Yeah, and I'm here to tell you mixed things.
Okay.
Look, it's funny because like
what is
I watched the first, so it's a mini series documentary just about like kind of all over the place gaming history and evolution and topics. Okay. Right? It's mostly a history documentary about games. The first one focuses primarily on Space Invaders and the interesting like arcade revolution that happened in Japan and the US around the same time surrounding Pac-Man, Missile Command, and Space Invaders.
Okay.
And it's funny, like my wife watches it and she's just looking at the production value of it, and I'm watching it being like, oh, I'm the game person. It's put together pretty well. Like they obviously had a solid sort of crew and budget with it. Like all the little 8-bit interstitials that they do are nice and fun, and I think it's a little all over the place, I guess. Like I said, I only watched the first episode. It follows 3 sort of separate stories and kind of interweaves them in a way that I guess makes sense. I think a lot of people who are super fluent with games will watch this and be like, okay, this maybe isn't for me, but there is a lot of like information and sort of background stories that I personally didn't know that I thought was kind of interesting. But for the most part, it is maybe a more surface level, look at this history, which I think is what you're going to get on a Netflix, documentary series, which is fine. I definitely think it's worth watching. if you have a couple, there's only 6 episodes and they're all, under an hour from what I gather. And
High Score is the name of it.
It's called High Score. What was cool? The first episode what was cool in the first episode was these guys who were at MIT that wound up like hacking the logic boards on Missile Command and Pac-Man, and basically like, signed with Atari, and at the same time, was working out all these deals with like how not to get sued, but also skirt around what they were doing. I thought that was like kind of a fun story. Nolan Bushnell shows up and he's, on his Atari throne, kind of talking about the whole fucking thing. And, I like I said, I'll have more of like a more informed takeaway after I watch 2 through 6. Cause I definitely want to see it through, but I'm enjoying it for the most part. I think some of the criticism I've read too is sort of, I think, warranted. So yeah,
Okay.
It's just want to
High Score on Netflix. I think we'll have more after we take a little break here. Before we do, let's just run down some of these things because we talked about a lot here. We had some Flight Simulator, Microsoft's Flight Simulator. We talked a little bit about Other Side. We talked a little bit about that new Tony Hawk demo, Tony Hawk 1 and 2 demo. The game out in 2 weeks. Some Battletoads, some Rogue Legacy, some Spirit Farer. That's right, Alex, right? Spirit Farer. Rogue Legacy 2 in early access. Moose Life. Is that right, Jeff?
Moose Life?
Moose Life.
Oh, that's right. It's more than right.
And the Avengers. Spirit Farer. We're going to take a break here. We'll be back with some news of the world. That section also looks like there's stuff in it. So we'll be back to talk about that in a little bit. Stick around. We'll be back soon. I got to play our little music sting here. Hold on a second. Here we go.
I got Forza running on this thing.
Uh-oh. What is well, how about when you come back from the break, we'll learn what's up with Forza Horizon. Oh, you're making faces. Here we go.
Is it what it is?
All right, we are back. I'll move my mouse, put it right over there. Perfect. We're
back, baby.
Back. We're back, baby. We're back.
I went to the X Cloud while you were away.
And what'd you find?
I found that Forza ran unacceptably choppy, and just like even the video was just like not running smooth.
Okay.
But so that game has a toggle in it for what appears to be like a streamer mode that disables licensed music. And when I went into the settings, that was turned on, but when I turned it off, it didn't give me access to any more stations, so it was just one station. So now I am attempting to boot up my Xbox One X over here, which apparently needs to download an update for Forza Horizon, but maybe by the end of the show, we'll know if they pulled it out of every version of the game for some music licensing reason, or if just the xCloud one is limited to just the one station because they didn't get the music rights to to play over a video feed, which is like a really weird business case that they should have thought of, I guess. I don't know.
Or maybe they did and couldn't.
Yeah, or maybe it just wasn't worth the money. Or,
yeah,
I don't know.
It's one of those like
follow the money.
It's one of those clauses. Like, what's the language for that? It's like any in perpetuity. Like, yeah, right, exactly. Any possible streaming imagination. Yeah, I don't know.
I wonder if your streaming to this Hangout would have anything affecting your ability to play Forza on your phone.
I thought you were conspiracy theory.
Sure, yeah. No, I should have enough upstream to handle both.
Okay. Who knows? But, I don't know how the internet works.
I've got downstream for days until I run a speed test, and then it's like, you should call those motherfuckers over at Comcast and tell them a thing or two.
Well, Well, Jeff Gerstmann, I've got some news for you.
What?
And here we go with the news. Speaking of billion and trillion dollar companies having their way with you, Alex Navarro, what is going on out there? Who has slapped the other person with a white glove this time?
Well, Epic is doing a whole lot of glove slapping, it seems like. So we talked a little bit about this last week on
It
the show.
happened during the last week's show.
It really happened during the show. But
Where
so
are we dropping, boys? It's legal loft. Am I right?
Yeah.
Is that the? Can we do this? This is the
Yeah,
joke.
you can do that. Yeah, that's
Hey.
right.
Woo! Yeah, so in the week since more has happened. Epic put out a fucking parody ad of the old Apple 1984 ad.
Yes.
They have sued both Apple and Google over removal of of Fortnite from the various app stores. They are fighting mad, looking for a fight over the 30% cut that Apple takes on its various transactions. And whoever wins, we lose, is my opinion on all of this. I mean, look, the thing that they are challenging is a thing that I understand someone challenging. And I think, with all the antitrust stuff going on with Apple right now, like, maybe you couldn't have picked a better time to do this. At the same time,
almost like they deliberately picked this time to do this.
No way.
Weird.
There's no way.
At the same time, I don't know that I could bring myself to wholly side with Epic on this. One, for the just absolutely nakedly obvious way they went about it, and two, for the way that they have tried to weaponize their own user base as a sort of intensifying factor in all of this. And it just, I can't bring myself to cheer anyone involved in this on. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Vinny and I spent, I don't know, half hour trying to come up with a good joke of like the absurdity of like showing a bunch of 20-year-olds a commercial they've never seen before.
Yeah.
A reference to a commercial they've never seen before, or even have any understanding of what it's related to. But sure.
So this is ongoing. This is obviously some major players in there. Apple has kind of shot back, right? Apple has pretty much said, we're going to remove support for was it SDKs? I can't remember.
The Unreal Engine and stuff like that. Like basically say you cannot use that to develop for our devices anymore, which would fuck over a whole lot of developers, I suspect.
Yeah. It's almost like there's a whole lot of collateral damage attached to all of this that maybe the people filing these suits and getting in these fucking pissing matches either they thought of it and didn't give a shit, or they didn't think of it, and I'm not sure which is worse.
Well, you think about Apple's position of just like how much money they make off the App Store. Like they are looking at it as like, well, we have to protect this at all costs. This is where we make hundreds of millions of billions. This is where we make a fuckload of money. And so we have to protect that, even if these assholes are coming at us over this stuff. Like, fuck them. So, like, and that triggered Epic filing another lawsuit to, I think, grant an injunction or some kind of temporary situation where that would not happen, and that the Unreal Engine would not be revoked, and all that other stuff. It's a mess. But like, if an Epic's thing is not even necessarily here. If I'm reading the lawsuit right, as a non-lawyer. They are more setting up it around the idea of the closed ecosystem. So it's not about the 30% per se. It's about they want the ability to set up their own payment processor and skirt Apple completely. And yet they're not doing this on consoles, which also take 30% and also are running closed systems for reasons where they're like, well, they sell at a loss, and they like a weird kind of semantic argument there about why they are not doing this to Sony and Microsoft, which I found to be even weirder. But as I've said, I think a couple times this week, like Tim Sweeney has been beating this drum in various form forever. Where it would, like, when they added a store to Windows, he was out there going like, "This is going to be the end of everything." And
and now they have an Epic store on that runs on the Windows machine.
And if Microsoft had competently launched a store, maybe he would have been right, but they did not. And so it was a non-factor. I think he was maybe right to be like concerned and all this stuff. I think my part where the thing gets real sleazy is the idea that they, like, Epic triggers all of this, right? They add the hey, you can get V-Bucks for cheaper right here by buying it through us instead of through Apple, knowing that Apple will act this way. So then they have their dumb ad and their lawsuit ready to go. And then at the end of it, they say, Apple's trying to take it away from you.
Yes.
It's like, no, you did this.
What is it?
This was you that did this.
Hashtag free Fortnite, right? That's
Hashtag free Fortnite. The monopoly. It's like, okay. It's like you're right for the wrong reasons, or you're right in the worst way possible. You're right in a way that makes me just go like, yeah, you guys are.
Yeah, it's that Eric Andre meme.
Have fun over there. Yeah.
Hannibal Buress, and Hannibal Buress is Fortnite, and it's just turning the camera and be like, why would Apple do this?
Yeah, sure.
Right.
Yes. Yeah. So, that's basically what happened. Sure.
I'm just trying to translate for the younger,
for the youth. Yes.
Yeah.
For the Fortnite crowd.
I think
that we did that.
Where
would it's legal law. Put this in the game and rip me off for my dance moves.
While we're at it. I think the Windows Store is a great example of if they did this on a Windows platform, if a Microsoft said the only place that you can buy games, not even Microsoft games, you can buy any games to play on your Windows
any apps
PC,
or anything
is through the Windows Store, it would seem ridiculous, but that is what Apple does, right? And that is.
But there's and you know, it would seem ridiculous because Windows machines have been the exact opposite of that forever.
Well, right, because we never had that really. I mean, at least I can't remember that. And then Apple years ago was like, we are going to have a curated experience. We want to make sure that it's almost Nintendo-like in its seal of approval. We're going to make sure that everything goes in your phone, it's safe, and all this stuff. And that was a long time ago. Things have changed. That store is now a huge moneymaker, alongside it having a ton of really questionable stuff on it sometimes. And it's like you said, like everybody's saying here, on paper, yes, I think this is at the very least a discussion that needs to be had and looked into. And I kind of side with like, yeah, I think maybe the time has come to open up some of this, and maybe you don't need to have to go through Apple for everything on this platform. But the way that it is happening and the way Epic is framing it, and the way that they are going about it, again, the hashtag free Fortnite stuff is just, it's too much. I think it's too much. I think other people here kind of agree with that kind of like, all right, chill out. Like, like cool. You've got the money to pay your lawyers. I don't think you
file
need
your lawsuit. You don't need to
public
have this,
opinion,
like, dumb public
right?
fight.
Like that, and that's what rubs me the wrong way too. It's like there isn't. This is not a thing where like a public opinion, like the court of public opinion would like have a meaningful impact on what happens here. You know what I mean? Like it just seems like this really incongruent and sort of like disproportional leveraging of what your actual customer base is against this very and it's a very pervasive payment system issue across many different mediums. It's not just games. Like this is a problem happening everywhere,
right? Giantbomb.com.
I'm just saying, like, think about how all these websites make money, like the payment systems and an affiliate and like third party intermediary, transactional distributors. Like this is what this fight has been, the internet fight for a very long time. And it's manifesting obviously in these two very large companies, sort of butting heads, but like this is a problem and look, there are definitely very valid points that the Epic lawsuit, or at least the language in that thing makes, where it's like, hey, you give exceptions to Best Buy, you give exceptions to Amazon, you give exceptions to all these other apps. We're we just don't sell we don't sell material physical things. We sell other things. Like, so yeah, look, like Alex said, it is a lose-lose most likely situation for you and I. But the bigger sort of thing here is like, what could this mean for the future of companies that are not Epic, that don't have 3,000 or however 1,000 employees that they have, but for like, a team of 3 people, where a 30%, tax is much more of a dent to the bottom line. So, yeah.
Ongoing. I'm sure we'll hear about this more. Epic, very loud, a lot of emails. I feel like they are on a PR.
They are.
Party mode, man.
Yeah.
Well, this is like not that far off from like Epic, turning on crossplay and like whoops, and getting that public opinion on their side in a way that I think did help bring crossplay to more games and more platforms once they said like, oh, we could do it. And Fortnite was in a popular enough position to kind of force the issue in a way that smaller devs couldn't. And so I think that in some cases they have used that size in ways that have benefited gaming. And so I look at this one and go like, yeah, maybe this will have a benefit to developers that will then benefit gaming and, on down the line. But right now it's just whatever. We've covered it to death. Like they've gone about it in kind of the worst way. I have completed my investigation, by the way.
Okay. What is the result?
Forza Horizon 4 on Xbox One still has all the music in it. So it seems like maybe they are not letting you turn off the streamer mode when you are playing
I gotta fucking
Forza
take notes here
on xCloud, which is wild. But yeah, it must just be some business loophole that they forgot that they were not thinking to do back when they licensed that music. That sounds like something the music industry would do. It was like, well, wait a minute. You can listen to our music on a phone? 'Cause that's cutting into a whole different, because we sell music on phones.
Yeah. We stream. We have a license. We have somebody came in here and signed a streaming music thing a while ago.
Yeah, you got to fuck us over at least as hard as Spotify does if you want to do that, buddy.
You're not even close yet. All right, Alex. Speaking of people wanting to have control over things, what's going on? What's going on here?
I'm sorry. This is two thumbs
down. You got to do the thing. If you're doing jokes like that, you got to make the joke move.
What's the joke move? Oh,
it's this.
Okay. Speaking of people wanting to talk about who has control over the next generation of games, what's going on with Control?
Oh,
Control. It's a great Janet Jackson album and also a very good video game.
Oh my god.
So here's the thing. So last week we talked a little bit about people who want to potentially upgrade Control to the next generation of consoles, get all the fun visual accoutrements that come with that. You gotta go buy the Ultimate Edition. Like you literally will not get the upgrade if you do not have the Ultimate Edition of this game, which most people did not get because that Ultimate Edition either just coming out or has come out.
It is not. I think it is not out just yet. It's coming out alongside the AWE DLC.
Which is different. I'll just pause you here for just a second because as somebody who bought Control and the season pass, is not the same thing.
It's basically their Game of the Year edition.
Right.
It's their here's the full pack. And also this coincides with the game coming to Steam. It's been an Epic exclusive all along. Yeah, it'll be out in 6 days, the 27th.
Right. Okay.
So let's just say, potentially you want to buy or play this game on a console, on one of the new consoles, and you want all that stuff. You have to have that Ultimate Edition. Or you could just play the PC version, which will probably look just as good. But so anyway, people were not happy with that because obviously there are other games that are doing these upgrades either free or in other ways that are problematic, but just different. In this case, a lot of people were like, hey, what's the deal? So they sort of explain the deal a little bit, kind of, on one of the site's blogs, either 505 or Remedies, and basically just said that through all of their discussions and trying to figure out how to do this, they could not come up with a solution that did not end up excluding some portion of the user base. Why that was the case, what those exclusionary measures were, what the problems would have been, were not really detailed. But there were problems, and people would have been left out.
This is them saying, okay, so if you read the rest of their statement, they say there will only be Ultimate Edition of Control on PS5 and Xbox Series X. There will be no Control minus the DLC. Right. So if they gave the upgrade to everybody, including people who didn't buy the DLC, then people who just bought base Control or just bought one of the DLC packs would theoretically be left out. The thing this game is old, right? This was a game we were talking about last year, and I think that you have to figure out where the cutoff is for games that get free upgrades and games where they're doing new work, and that work probably deserves some money. This doesn't feel right. I think that the idea that you're going to get Control and not get this upgrade on the new consoles. It doesn't feel right, even though the game is not a current game. It's not like in the lane of like when Assassin's Creed came out on PS3 and PS4 at the same time, and they still charged $10 for the upgrade. That felt like, well, I guess that makes sense around that time or whatever. So I think there's something to the age of that where like it just how new does a game need to be, or where's the line? Where's the line on that stuff?
Yeah.
But I think what they probably should have done, and the line I think they should have been comfortable drawing here, and I think the move they should still make is to say, if you bought Control and both DLC packs,
yes,
you own everything that would be in the Ultimate Edition anyway.
Yes.
You're good.
Yeah, I like that.
If they can find a way to get you there.
Yeah,
If you bought base Control and you didn't buy the DLC, then maybe you don't care enough anyway, and it's $40 for the Ultimate Edition, so maybe just rebuy it anyway, or wait for a sale if it's going to be on disc.
Or season pass holders should be able to. You're going to get this. Like
sure, Like I feel like that they could have drawn those lines in a way that was more favorable to more players, and I think 505 has done a bad job here. And I think their explanation of just like, we just couldn't figure it out. It's like, unless there's like a technical problem where they could not figure out how to license the version of the game to people, which seems like it would be a doable thing. I don't work for Sony or Microsoft, so I don't know. But like, it seems like they could run a check of just like anyone who owns Control and these two pieces of DLC, whether it was through the season pass or through buying them separately, just add this to their account. Add the PS5. Go ahead and just add it.
I also think they should just have like a $3.99, $4.99 upgrade path for people. Like you got the Control game on a disc, you bought it, you want to put it into you want to play it on your thing. Here's your $5 upgrade path, because at that point,
see, now though they have to then generate a version of the game that has Control minus the DLC, which is definitely more work.
Because you're gonna get the DLC now for $5. Otherwise, you get
all
it for
they're
$5.
making on the new consoles is boom, one pack. It's the whole game.
Right.
They're not doing like
yeah.
splitting off the DLC is a different thing. It's like, here it is.
Right.
So
right. So you have to have something keyed that says you have this DLC already.
Exactly.
Right.
No one is suggesting this isn't complicated. Like, no one is saying that this is like a simple turnkey solution that you just press a button and suddenly there's a version of that game where this works and it's no work at all. But two things. One, this game is old, but it's only a year old.
Yeah.
It's not like, a 5 to 6 year old, like early generation game where they weren't planning or thinking about the possibility of next gen consoles when they were developing this game. And again, I'm not saying that it's no work to do this. It obviously is, but you would think that at the very least, if you're thinking about putting out a game the year before the new console's out, and you know that next gen console support is going to be a thing, then you would at least have a plan in place for like how you would want to handle that, and ideally one that is a little bit better than saying there is only one version of this game that works on these platforms and this Ultimate Edition that anyone who didn't buy this doesn't get. Because I know for a fact there are checks on the back end of all these things for previous generation platforms.
Right.
Like, it exists, it's there, it knows you bought that stuff because they did it this generation, like over and over again. Like, publishers did this all the time. You're like, oh yeah, you own this version of the game, now you can play it on this platform. Like, again, not saying no work, but I am saying that if you actually give a shit about trying to give a benefit to people who already bought your game, maybe you find a way.
Yeah, don't give me this we can't figure it out shit. If PSN figure out a way for people to change their IDs, you sure as shit can figure out an upgrade path to next
that was the unsolvable problem.
Yeah, we had to go back in time to fix that one, and here we are.
I guess the thing I would say is I don't think it was guaranteed that they were going to bring Control to new consoles. I think its success in a critical sense, and I don't know how well it sold. I know it did okay, and maybe it's picked up or as time has gone on and all that sort of stuff. You could also have a situation where they might just not be able to fucking afford it.
Yeah.
It might just not make money at that point where they're just like, we do this way and we could potentially sell to 100% of the install bases of these new consoles, or it might not be worth doing at all, which, I don't pick your fucking poison there. And I don't want to defend 505 here. Like, I think that they should absolutely have found a way. And I think they still should say, if you bought that DLC, if you have all three pieces of this puzzle, you're good. Or bare minimum do the shitty, and actually maybe they can't do this. I don't know if they're going to allow upgrade fees at a platform holder level this time around or not. But at the bare fucking minimum, they could do the give us $10,
Right.
which I don't think is the right thing to do. I think that paying for next gen upgrades is a shitty situation. But like this is 505. This isn't this is not the face of Max Payne going or anything like that. Like 505 is the publisher. They call the shots on this, and I think 505 controls the IP.
I think
not owns it outright, but they do have a long-term.
I think it's specifically 505 coming out and saying this. I think you're right in the if you were somebody with control and the value proposition for you was I could spend the money now and buy this other piece of DLC, and then I know I'm getting another console and I want to play this DLC, or I might even want to play this. It's going to be cheaper than spending the $40 to buy it again, and I'm not going to do that. I feel like they would probably make more money in the long run. For the people who are just like, I'm not going to buy this again on a new console, but I would buy the other piece of DLC to play for free on a new console. Like I doubt there are a few people out there who bought it all and are like, I'm going to spend $40 to get it on the new console so I can play it all again, right? There's probably some people who bought one piece of DLC and are like, yeah, I'd try this on my Xbox Series X, and then just buy that second piece of content that weren't going to.
I think all of this would sting a lot less if the console versions of that game were better.
You're right.
Couldn't hurt.
And they ran better. Like that. This is not just an instance of, oh well, this game will look nicer on these consoles. There's literally a decent chance that like those versions are just decidedly more playable. Could be still fucked up. Don't know. Haven't touched the Ultimate Edition. Don't know what they'll run like on the new hardware. They could obviously find a way to fuck it up. But in theory, you might actually be getting a more playable version of Control with this, which I think makes this suck more.
I feel like it's almost guaranteed you will get a more playable version of Control this way, especially if you're coming off a base level console.
Yeah,
like if you're coming from a non-X Xbox One
or a launch PS4,
then or exactly. Like,
Alex
did you even finish that game because you got to a point where like it's it's a great game. I fucking love Control. I hate that a game as good as this is caught up in this bullshit. Control. The IP of Control, the Control as a franchise deserves better than to sour people before they can even get a second game out. I think that's shitty. I think 505 is, and maybe they have to. Like I feel like 505 is like not thinking about long-term stuff here. And
I mean, when was the last time 505 had a game like this? Like, not to say that they haven't had games that have been successful, but I feel like this was like embraced both critically and sold reasonably well. Like, I feel like this was kind of like one of the big wins I can think of for them in the last several years.
They got the PC version of Death Stranding. They did Bloodstained, that's theirs. So they've 505. I mean, their profile has been on the rise lately. I'll give them that. Like they've been putting it together a little better since the days of like, they did that fucking Walking Dead game that like came and immediately got shut down for sucking ass, right? That was them.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah,
I don't remember.
That was a Judge's Week appointment of just like I'll play this broken game and have it crash on me and then not be able to play Indivisible, which I wanted to play more of. Anyway, yeah, what is that? That's Overkill's The Walking Dead.
Oh, that sounds familiar.
Boy,
yeah, that's a bad game. It has been delisted from Steam, in fact, as it is no longer available for sale.
Banished.
And I don't even know if I were to download it and try to run it, if it would do anything.
Alex, what else is news?
Well, the rest of these are going to be pretty quick hits. Just going to go through them here. This is a weird one. I don't really know what to make of any of this, and no one has really said enough to really clarify what's happening here. But so Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2 in development now, was recently delayed into next year, as a lot of games have been. They have fired their lead writer and director from Hardsuit Labs. They are no longer part of the team. And so the writer, Brian Mitsoda, has basically said, this was a huge shock to me. I'm very disappointed we'll not get to keep working on the project. Has said that like the delays to the game, as far as he is aware, had nothing to do with, narrative team and any of that stuff. Just kind of a weird one out of nowhere. And there does not seem to be any clarification on this.
So I didn't read this whole story as we were going through the news doc, and I just assumed that this is probably horrible for me to assume that that person did something terrible in a kind of harassment way. Like they oh, we're cutting ties in this way. Like that.
There
like,
is nothing on record about that currently.
Okay. Wow. Okay. So this is just surprise to publicly surprise to both the director and the audience.
Yeah, like the director and the writer both seem to be, I think Brian Mitsoda is the only one who's given comment as far as I can tell, but like he seems totally blindsided by it. And again, Paradox and Hardsuit have not clarified beyond saying it was a mutual decision among management and that was it. And I don't know what to make of it. I have no idea what to think about that,
Huh.
Well, if the narrative is done, then maybe and you're pushing the game back and suddenly you're like counting on that money to come in this year and not next, maybe at some point is it like a version of a layoff? Is it
money?
I don't know. Like, well, we don't need the narrative, people, because the game's done. That part of the game's, wrapping up or yeah, I don't know. They brought in someone from Ubisoft or there's someone with a history at Ubisoft. Who had been doing some freelance consulting and other stuff, as I understand it. But yeah, they have brought in someone new over there. So I guess maybe that shoots my dumb fucking layoff theory in the head right there, because they did bring someone else in.
I don't know. It's just a weird one. I don't know what to make of it. So I guess stay tuned for that one. Find out what happened there. But
okay, that's just delayed into 2021, but not a date on it. Just the.
No, I don't think there's a hard date for it yet.
Okay.
Another game has been delayed, and as far as I know, no one has been fired on this project. Just this is a new delay story. Deathloop. I didn't know that was a 2020 game. I thought that was a 2020.
I was with you.
Yeah. But apparently it was supposed to be Q4 this year, and now it is not.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, Sony picked that up as a console exclusive. Probably, I bet its release date probably had a lot to do with that, because they're like, we need to shore up the launch window. And we need to go get some third-party games, to do that, because we're not going to have enough or something like that. And now this is moving out, which is, not quite delaying Halo, but not a good thing for the launch of these consoles.
It's the next big Arcane project. People are looking forward to this game.
Oh, it looks awesome. Like, yeah, it's got a cool style for sure.
But there was no part of me that had actually built myself up to play that game in 2020. So I guess for me personally, it was just like that happen?
It's like a lateral turn of events, I feel like.
So as these things get delayed further into 2021, you think that changes any? Well, I know it probably changes the marketing and the positioning, but like where they, like the console versions, right? Like, are you now pushing the PS5 version and the Xbox Series X version as your main platform version? Versus if you were launching in before November XXX, whatever the release date is of these new consoles. Like if you're now launching in March of 2021, I guess we'll see what those user base. Big question. I'm just posing this. It's kind of a rhetorical question because nobody knows any dates, any prices, nothing for when these consoles are coming out. So what the install base will look like in March, I have no idea.
I mean, Microsoft has said November on record, but they have not given it.
Right.
Yeah. And Sony just put out their first like PS5 ad today, which I thought was not great. No games in it. Which you do a tone piece, you do a thing, whatever.
Right up front.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like a woman, and then she's got a bow, and she's shooting it, and because the year of the bow is back,
I would love to hear everyone's take, especially you, Jeff, because you and I haven't talked about this, but like, I think it's wild that like pretty much September is here and there's another Xbox that's sort of waiting for its moment behind the curtain, and it's not here. And I don't know.
They were originally supposed to do that this month, is my understanding, is that was going to be their August news, was there are two of them, and here it is. And I think at that point you probably get price, because I don't think you say here's the cheaper one without saying the actual numbers. But then when you have to delay Halo, that news needs its own lane. That news forces you to change a lot about your other plans and what your marketing is, and what do we show alongside this announcement of what the prices are, and all this other stuff. So I think we'll get into September and we'll get prices for everything. Unless Sony just drops it to like tomorrow, who knows,
or
right?
Gamescom, right? Like it's
the game, the 27th, like that opening night. But I feel like that's big enough news that they do it themselves. They don't do it as part of. I don't think they need to do it as part of Keeley's thing, and I don't think they need to do it as part of like whatever Gamescom digital is or whatever. That's a thing they can do themselves. So. I suspect we'll hear of that stuff in September. I think that's,
I hope they both do it just one digit at a time, and they don't tell you which digit this is.
9. It's just a Price is Right fucking pricing game. Like,
and then just like Sony has to come up with one. All right, we have a 4 in ours. Ooh, a 4.
Oh, they have a 4. Whoa,
is it going to be 349, 449, or is it? And then Microsoft, your turn. 9. Oh. Wait, 2 9s? 9. Wait, 3 9s. This is 9. Yeah.
So are we doing cents here or no?
They just decided that they both decided to go into arbitration with this, so it'll be some sort of third-party independent arbitrator, telling everyone what the price of these fucking things are.
Look, if you're going to collude over prices, you don't do it over a Zoom call. There's too many records, so you have to wait until everyone's safe and they can get together in person and figure it out.
They do it on IRC, where all the business happens.
Right, yeah, exactly. The true dark web, the darkest of webs.
Dark web.
It's you saw the Monster Energy contest thing where they were giving away Xboxes as a part of that. They went ahead and launched like the Halo cans anyway, even though there's no more Halo.
Well, we're not just gonna throw these away.
We made the cans, guys. I guess my understanding is that they've got a number of Xboxes they're giving away, and they've got a total estimated cost of value of prizes. And if you work the math on that, it comes out to $5.99.
Oh, what? Okay. What?
Well, it's plus shipping.
It's estimated and all this other stuff too. So if they're going to estimate, they're going to estimate high.
Does it come with come with like a copy of the game?
It would come with Halo, so potentially you've got a $60 value there and all this other stuff. So it's
we're getting down to it now, huh?
You've got that, and you've got the sealed boxes for those controllers that leaked out. Supposedly say do not open until November 6th on them.
6 12 6 or 11 6. If you add 11 6, if you add 6 plus 1 plus $611
$600 on the 6th. And you'll get 6 sick games.
You wish you did. You wish you got 6 games.
Take one at this point. It's a bizarre situation. It's never been like this, and honestly, it feels terrible. Like going into this new generation, there's supposed to be a thing that you can latch onto and be like, that's the thing I want to get and play.
Yeah.
And I think like Microsoft just had the rug pulled out from under them by themselves, which is a hard thing to do. If you think about it. It's hard. And now Deathloop getting pushed on the Sony side, and they'll have Spider-Man, which I'm not convinced is going to be enough. But at the same time, that's for me, like that Spider-Man game sold fucking gangbusters.
It's a great
game.
Even
Even if that thing is rooted in old generation technology, which Halo kind of is as well. Even if that thing is rooted in like PS4 era technology at its base, like you're launching with a new Spider-Man game, like that game did quite fucking well for them. So
let me ask this here.
But at the same time, like
I don't want to linger too much on this. We got a couple of other news stories. Well, I'll posit this here. So the Microsoft and Sony launched a platform in November. It doesn't sell well for a number of reasons. The economy is very bad. The stories going around in kind of close circle game stuff is that what's the value here? The prices are wrong, whatever. Is it just that they sell better over the long run, slower, or is there a snowball effect of these things are not selling, it's not worth it, that trickles out then into a larger community that then affects the sales of a next generation?
I think I would think that they'll sell through whatever their launch quantities are, because they won't have 1 billion of them out there this year, and they know they don't necessarily need to. They're not going to be able to make a mainstream play this holiday season, but they never do. It's a launch. It's it's not about that. So like fans that will buy it no matter what, 0 games, 10 games, like whatever, like they'll soak up the quantities that are out there, I think, no matter what. So I think you won't necessarily come out of this having learned any lesson about things. People that could still afford them, there will be enough of those people, unless things take an even more dramatic turn by then, which it's smelling more and more like smoke in this room as we go. So hey, who knows how the rest of the year will go.
Yeah. All right. Alex, what's going on with Ghosts of Tsushima?
Well, so there's a couple of games here that are going to be getting some multiplayer modes in the near future. Ghost of Tsushima is one of them. It is a 4-player online co-op mode that is not just the single-player campaign, but with other people. It is apparently a separate mode with separate storytelling. It is class-based, so each samurai will have like a different specialty, I guess. Like there's like an assassin, there's one that's like a stealth guy, and what have you. But it's apparently a more fantastical campaign. Like it is more folklore-y, more like basically pulling from Japanese folklore as opposed to just doing like the straight samurai story that the main game was. So that is apparently coming later this year.
Interesting.
And it is free.
That almost makes me more interested in getting that. I didn't buy it, in getting that game than I think the base game. I guess we'll have to see how deep it is and what the modes are in it, but
totally. But I'm also glad they're doing something different with their first addition to that game that isn't just like, here's more story content, because I can tell you right now, I have had enough of their story content for a little while at least.
That sounds like a cool mode.
Who else is getting a local co-op?
Well, so Tsushima is online.
Oh, sorry.
co-op.
Sorry.
But this next one is local co-op. Untitled Goose Game. What's worse than one terrible goose? Two terrible gooses.
Geese got, wow.
Whatever. Yeah, so it's a local co-op mode, so you can have a second goose on screen causing the similar level of havoc.
Great.
During my playtime of that, I kind of the whole time was just like, shit, I could use another goose here. So there we go.
I think the only way to really would be unlimited. Like there's just put a lobby up and if you want to play this game, 140 geese in one map.
Oh, just mute the shit out of that, please. Oh my god.
Just 100 everywhere you go. It's just people just running around.
No.
All right, and then finally one other piece of news here, Alex, or
yeah, it's just a small one, but because the Ultimate Goose Game thing was from a Nintendo Indies event that they held earlier this week. There was another thing on there, Hades, which is going to hit 1.0 pretty soon here, actually, is also coming to Switch, and it will have cross save with the PC version.
Yay.
So I'm way into that. I have stopped playing the Hades early access version. I still haven't played it in a while because I kind of want to just take a breather before I play the full game again. But it's been one of the better early access experiences I've ever had with a game, and I am really looking forward to seeing how that final game plays out.
Yeah, for sure.
And then there's another thing here, Jeff Gerstmann, what's up with this Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War teaser trailer?
Yeah, they've been doing their thing with some in-game teases and then, sending weird crates to people to post on Instagram or whatever. And so that stuff has kind of worked backwards into this first teaser trailer for the next Call of Duty, so the first Call of Duty, you remember, before it just became about like the numbers, like all they were talking about was like, hey, here's what was really going on, and talking about numbers stations and like all the weird
talking about Black Ops particular or Call of Duty. Because I've
when in the run up to the release of Black Ops 1.
Okay.
Okay.
I had no, they were talking about like, hey, we want to do something that's like deep and weird and pseudo real.
Yeah.
And so they tried to root it in number stations and some of that Cold War stuff, and
JFK
it worked really well
and
for
weird
them.
Conspiracy stuff and
exactly. Yeah. I think by then it had spun out into something maybe a little weirder with that. But yeah, so this has just a clip of an interview of it is a news clip, a real news clip of a guy who defected from the Soviet Union to Canada, and he sat down and gave this interview and talked about this spy Perseus, who had infiltrated the Manhattan Project and all this other stuff. So this has been something that's like is very real. Like the takeaway on was this spy real or not? There's obviously some debate about that, but that is what they're leaning into for this is like the idea of the Soviet campaign against the U.S. is to sow a lot of levels of discord and disinformation and this.
I thought you said this was
look,
old
you
stuff.
look at it.
Yeah.
And well, so that's the thing is like it is old stuff, but like they're clearly trying to tug at that, the more modern version of that as well.
It is weird that you have a first person shooter called Cold War in a war that not one bullet was fired. It is
that about, man. Frank Woods was out there getting it done, man. He was in the shit.
What happens when?
Well,
when
you just
get the
blew
keys.
the lid right off this.
Yeah, that's my lid blower on the Cold War.
Is that this year?
Is anything?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'll
bet on it.
It is supposed to be.
Is that supposed to be October or November? I've lost track of Call of Duty release dates.
It's always like a November thing, right?
October.
Oh, is it?
I thought it was
It's
like
like last week of October or something.
Yeah, I feel like they changed at some point. They used to be the
yeah. They are going to do the full reveal of the game next week, apparently, or the next step in the process. Who knows if it's a full reveal or not? But
I feel like I say this every goddamn week, but the fact that I'm still playing last year's Call of Duty right now, hearing about the next one is kind of amazing.
Yeah, that's usually the sign, right? Is I feel like I always get through 3 of the 4 map packs back when they were selling those, and then I'm like, and I never play the 4th one. But I'm playing way less. Like I did not buy the Battle Pass for Season 5, and I don't think I'm going to. But I'm still checking it out here and there.
Yeah,
it's a good game. It's the best one they've done in a while.
Totally.
Anybody else got news they want to drop before we head over into the email section? No. All right. Well, that sounds like a good place to take another quick break. We'll be back. This will be a short one. Stick around. You got to get that food or drink. Get it quickly. Let me pull up the old music cue here. Stick around, folks. We'll be back in a minute or two. Oh, we are back. Look at this. We're back, and it's time for emails. If you've got an email, you can send them into beastcast@giantbomb.com. That is beastcast@giantbomb.com. Today's emails are brought to you by all you fine people who sent in emails. If I didn't pick your email, it was probably great. It's probably great. Just didn't fit in. Just you got to pick some. It's probably amazing. All right, this first email from Rob. Alex, do you want to take this one coming in from Rob about artificial intelligence?
Yes, hang on. Let me just turn off this text I got from the Census Bureau because I already filled that thing out. All right, how's it going, Beasters? A topic I've been discussing with a few friends this week was that games are nearly reaching the ceiling for graphical fidelity, and that once we've reached that point, the next step for developers should be to leverage future advancements in tech to focus on improving video game AI. I already have several problems with this email. Here we go. Use all think video game AI could see more attention and care once the industry tops out on making games look better. What AI improvements would you want to see? Where is my sophisticated, interesting evolution of the Nemesis system? Or do you think the industry should continue to lean so heavily on things like graphics as a way to show how computing power has evolved, because that is what the audience is familiar with as a benchmark for power? Should they start touting more and new complex AI systems? So here's the thing. We're not that close. Like games, yeah, they look better. They are continuing to look more and more photorealistic. But have we hit that tipping point where I'm just staring at a damn person and then the person says, "Nah, I'm a video game," and my mind is blown? Oh! No, we're not there yet.
That's David Cage's next game.
We're absolutely close enough where there are in a trailer or something like that, there's footage, and I'm not sure if it's pre-rendered or a video game. I feel like last generation we were close where you could, out of the corner of your eye, catch somebody playing a sports game and not be sure.
It's usually the NBA 2K.
Yeah, you squint a little bit and you're like, this is basketball happening over there. Oh, wait.
And now there are definitely some in-game cutscenes where you might be like, I'm not I'm not sure. Like the performance capture stuff is there enough, and stuff they've shown to be like, I'm not sure if that's all CG or real. But yes, we have not topped out. That being said, though, I love when people show off stuff that's just not graphics, about like here's how we're putting it. Like, I am still a fan of that original Assassin's Creed demo where they show crowd dynamics and they show people and like, hey, this living city, you're going to be able to walk around and people are going to do their stuff in the background because that's computationally expensive, or that's, we don't have the resources to do that. So yeah, not necessarily even the Nemesis system, stuff like physics. Like, this is also stuff that's expensive to do. Look how the water flows down when you remove this thing or that. I think there are other things aside from graphical fidelity that go alongside and parallel to that I find very impressive when we talk about advancements. What is
cool though is that not specifically in video games, but like in production, right? In like in a lot of ways we have reached a certain point in production where you don't know what's going on in it. Like the reason it's so good is because you can't tell. Like and I only speak to this from personal experience because my wife specializes in this. Your favorite show on Netflix or whatever has so much FX in it that you don't even understand, like, what you're watching is not there.
My favorite show?
Your
Three's
favorite
Company
show
has
Three's Company, Jack Tripper, robot.
Right, it's a very special
CG.
effect. Yeah.
Oh my
CG.
god.
No,
Technology
actual
has been
robot.
getting better and better every single year to the point where I can't even tell the difference between Don Knotts and digital Don Knotts.
I know.
Why aren't we making more episodes
Believe
of
me.
Three's Company then?
If your
I can
fancy
think of
technology is so good.
it's an xCloud license.
I can think of a couple
All right.
reasons why we might not make more Three's Company in 2020.
Right. So like that stuff.
Name what?
that
COVID,
stuff
they
is
just can't get together.
unbelievable.
Yeah,
Fair enough. Yeah.
She worked on a show where it was not special effects heavy, right? Where it's just a regular old, show. I'm sure, right? And it's just a lot of people in dramatic scenes and whatnot. But what they do in terms of like, you know what? This would be a lot more kick-ass if there was snow on the ground. Like stuff like that, where you're just like, oh, you would have no idea, right? They just do whatever they want. So like, we're definitely there on that side of the fence. When it comes to games, though, I think it has plateaued in the last 10 years in a way that it is not this knock over the head jump from SD to HD, where that seemed to be like this, oh my gosh, sort of fidelity improvement.
I think the floor is a lot higher. We
the ceiling's higher.
The water's always. Well, I would say the floor. Like the water is always
No,
going to look
ceiling.
good.
It's
Right?
the ceiling.
It's the floor.
The ceiling. It's on the floor.
It's a frosted side is better. I think like the water always looks good now, right? Like the water, like certain things just look good. Yes, more AI, more graphics. Give me everything. Just turn the pipe on.
Give me everything. I want it all.
Backlar, why don't you take this email from Daniel here?
Okay.
This one, huh?
Please note that this email was composed at 2:25 a.m.
Not an excuse.
I know, right? Like, that doesn't make it better. New York City has phased out of existence. Giant Bomb East must relocate. Well,
okay, phased out of existence, but none of the people did because we're still here and we have to go somewhere now. Okay, got it.
Right. CBSI has given you two options. You can either move to Ass Town or Butt City.
Okay.
No further details about the two cities are given besides their names. Which do you choose? It's a good question.
But I need to know, what is the median rent in these cities? Like, what are the schools like? Like, there's so many.
What are the taxes?
Go into this.
I am going to Butt City. I will see you later.
I'm going to Butt City.
Ass Town sounds like it sucks. Butt City just sounds like they respect some ass. You know what I'm saying?
Butt City's a good time. Ass Town.
I feel like, wasn't the name of that like Jude Law AI town called Ass Town? In AI? Wasn't that called Ass Town?
I don't know. How many people watched AI? We asked the 3 people that enjoyed AI if
I didn't say I enjoyed it. I said I watched it.
Ass Town is like just outside Modesto.
Yeah, but Butt City is right next to Bakersfield.
Yeah. Good enough for corn.
All right, I'm glad we solved that one. All right, another quick one here. We don't have to get into it. Jeff Gerstmann, please read this one from Rex. This is just a fire and forget here.
All right, how many coffee mugs do each of you have? No further context, no further discussion. We shall draw our own conclusions from your answers. Whoa.
I mean, I've got at least a dozen, but I only use like 2 or 3 of them ever.
Okay, I'm gonna say I've
This
got.
is not like your normal plate. So this is like novelty.
Yeah, this is like
sort of.
You open up that coffee mug. I'm gonna say I have at least 15.
You have a dedicated coffee mug cabinet? Is that what you were just about to say?
A shelf at least. Yeah,
I have a shelf that's all mugs.
Yeah, at least 15.
Yeah.
And 2 of those mugs are the old headboard mugs. I still have
That's
those.
gross. What?
Yeah. No, I mean I don't drink out of them, but I still have them.
Yeah. I don't. My wife probably has she has a bunch of coffee mugs. I don't know. I don't think I have any.
Question 0. Okay, Bacalar.
I mean, she's we probably have like 10 or something in there because she drinks a lot of coffee. I do not.
Yeah, what about like north of 20?
Wow, that's a lot. They sometimes you can't throw them away. They come almost like souvenirs. Souvenirs.
Yeah.
I haven't said that word. I haven't said that word in a long time.
The thing with the coffee mug is it is like the go-to giveaway thing.
Mm-hmm.
So just that's all. I know you don't want any further context, but
I have at least 2 giant bomb ones in that cabinet.
Yeah. Well, then you only have one because you have no other room for anything else.
That's right. No, my giant one is at the office, and I'm sure they have just smashed that thing into pieces.
Oh, they probably use it as a dumpster.
Yeah, that's right. Or like a shelter in place. Is everybody crawling in the mug? Alex, or actually Bacalar, can you take this one from Chris about hockey?
Yeah, of course. With the NHL playoffs returning this past week, I've been jonesing to play a good hockey game. Despite owning a PS4, I haven't owned any of the EA releases for this generation of consoles. Last one I played extensively was NHL 10. Dang. So I'm looking to upgrade a bit. I know y'all have been disappointed by the last few games, so I wanted to reach out and ask which, if any, of the EA NHL games would you recommend from the PS4, Xbox One generation to play now? Please note that roster changes are not a concern, as I'm a fan of the Blackhawks, whose core has not changed for the last 10 years. If necessary, I can always bust out NHL hits.
Yeah, do that.
Yeah, I was just going to say, do that. I think the best one, everyone's going to be like, oh, it's because of this guy's on the cover. No, the last good one I remember was it 14? The one with Brodeur on the cover. That I remember being like the last, again, in 2020, that's probably bad.
Oh.
Like it's probably not going to scratch the itch, but I just remember that kind of being the most complete hockey simulator that I was like satisfied with. Hockey's changed in 6 years.
I will also say that I feel like if you haven't played any of the games from this generation, you could probably just pick up NHL 20 and be fine with it. Like the bigger point of these games is not that like they're getting progressively worse, it's that they're stagnant. Like they just have not changed in a way that felt like demonstrably different in the last few, at least the last few iterations, if not longer.
Yeah, they are shockingly static in a way that I just, I bang my head against the wall.
I played a bunch of 20 and it wasn't bad. It was just like, oh, I'm playing last year's game, but the rosters are different.
Right, exactly that. And some presentational stuff gets, pushed a tiny bit. I don't even want to call it forward, just pushed a tiny bit. So
would you say 20?
Rough. Yeah, I mean, look, like I'm gonna play 21. I'm gonna play it.
No, but like if you got to recommend one from this from the Xbox One, PS4, is like
I guess 20 is the answer, just because why not at this point?
It's not completely broken. It's functional. Right. It's just just iterative.
Do any of them come with NHL 94? I know they did that at one point.
What year was that?
That might have been last generation even, but
that was when they did a mode with like blue ice, and they were like, hey, you're back in Yeah, I don't remember which one that was, but it's been a rough go. I
mean, it's hockey.
Yeah.
well, I don't know what that means, but
hockey is a rough go.
Here's what I'll tell you right now. Hockey has been good. I have been shocked at the level of play I've been watching since the bubble began.
Phenomenal.
Have kicked off. Like the Coyotes accepted. I feel like even the bad teams are putting up a spirited fight here in the bubble. And again, bless the NHL and NBA for finding a way to do their shit in a way that does not feel as wildly reckless as the MLB.
Yeah, it's super refreshing, and it just feels good seeing the thing you like doing a good job at a thing, right? Like, And I agree. I think the level of play has been like shockingly good in a way that you're and again, we talked about this before, but like they're using the EA stems of fans. Like someone is live mixing these games
weird
and doing contextual crowd things, and it's fucking good.
And it sounds like a fun job. I kind of want to get in on that. That sounds like a cool job to have like a soundboard of EA crowd noises to hit when somebody hits something.
I've watched. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was gonna say, if you've seen what WWE intends to do pretty soon here, they have moved all their live shows to something they are calling the Thunderdome, and they're putting LED screens in like all the seats, and that you will sit there live and be just broadcast onto these screens. They have all these rules like you must not mimic smoking anything while you are here. You must not wear shirts that are some other brand. Like it's a long list of like you cannot be visibly intoxicated. Like
then
all
what
this
the fuck kind of Thunderdome is this?
Yeah, I was
it's
just
the
gonna
worst
say, like,
Thunderdome. The
guess what?
WWE Thunderdome.
You gotta learn something about your audience.
Thunderdome? Is that what we're doing?
That I will say that I am intrigued by the technical accomplishment that will be, but that's where it ends. But yeah, like you know, I just can't say enough good things about what this postseason has been. So
yeah, I mean, look, it's great to have live sports again, and I was against any sort of live events continuing to happen for as long as possible, but they seem to have found a way to do it that is responsible and has not resulted in more positive tests, which is the important part.
If you rebroadcast the broadcast on your Thunderdome screen as an audience member, is that illegal? If you're rebroadcasting the broadcast on the broadcast, is that
that's probably still legal?
Is that
legal? But as long as no one else, is in the shot. If you are not in your seat, if someone else is in your seat, they will cut you off. They're gonna have like virtual seat fillers ready to go in case they have to remove people.
Oh man,
like overflow. Like
you're not on the screen. It's somebody walking. Somebody walking.
It's like, it's like I just envisioned some shot of the crowd. Yeah, exactly. It's physically changed screen. I just imagine some shot of the crowd, and then someone tries to make a smoking sign, and then he just vanishes out of existence, and some new person just materializes there, who's sitting there in a fucking Hulk Hogan shirt, going.
I hope his screaming and like virtual flames as it, and then, hey man,
I'm just gonna turn my feed to a fucking TV that's airing the movie Body Slam and just leave that on the whole time.
All right, but let's run with this for a second because I am endlessly fascinated by this proposal from WWE. I mean, a lot of I stopped watching wrestling like 2 decades ago.
Smart.
Like the whole sign thing is still a thing, right? Like those might as well be screens, right? Like
they should have an option. If you're sitting there in front of your webcam watching it, there should be an interface in front of you where you can type in what you think should be on a sign. Then it gets vetted and just appears over your head like an emote.
I think people feel, usually my history with the internet tells me that people feel a lot more audacious when they are not there in person to do something. So would I care if I showed my butt and then got kicked off of No.
Exactly.
I don't know. How much do you have to be like a subscriber or something to get in on this?
I don't know. I think it was just a website you had to go to and say, let me fucking be in the. I don't know. And I don't know if there'll be audio from it or not. Like I don't know. So
I don't know.
I'm fascinated to see what they do with it. But God.
All right.
What's that? They've all been bought by Dan Reichert? I don't understand.
All right,
God, an entire arena of Dan's head. Oh God. Oh, I just had a nightmare.
Welcome to Butt City. You know what I'm saying?
There you go.
That's town.
Listen, it'll give you the thing to tune into our wrestling broadcast. I'll tell you that. We're gonna end that there for emails, but we do have one little thing I like to call a correction. If you got a correction, you're gonna want to send it into beastcast@giantbomb.com. This one here, coming in from Eric, and I'm going to read this right here. It says, in episode 271, everybody was ranting over mosquitoes. This is understandable. They suck. However, This is not so much a correction, rather than a clarification about when everyone asked, do we really lose anything if we lost mosquitoes? I'll stick by my answer and say no.
The fucking Mosquito Defense Force. Fine. Okay. What do you got? What do you got?
Mosquito stands here.
The answer apparently
the mosquito
is...
hive has found us. We're in trouble.
The answer apparently is a resounding yes. They are an important aspect in the food chain and in pollination. It's a bad thing that bees are dying off because of their importance in pollination. It'd be the same story if mosquitoes were dying off. Their larvae in water sources provide important food to fish. The larvae, in turn, feed on microscopic organic matter in the water, further recycling the energy and the ecological cycle of carbon and life. Bats, birds, spiders, and dragonflies are examples of organisms that rely on the abundance of mosquitoes for food. They do suck. Mosquitoes literally suck, and I hate them. We all do. But as a biologist, I need to look past my seething loathing for them and appreciate the importance of these vampires in our ecosystem.
Whatever, man. The mosquito lobby has clearly gotten a hold of you. You
Yeah.
cannot be trusted.
Mr. Mosquito.
It's about time Big Mosquito answered these questions.
What I'm
There's a
hearing,
mosquito super PAC behind this.
if we just need things to eat mosquitoes, it sounds like we just need a bunch of dead mosquitoes. Like, you know what I'm saying? To eat mosquito larvae, just kill all the mosquitoes and then dump them in the fish ponds, and then same A to B. Get more bees for the pollination. Kill all the larvae. Free easy pickings for these fish, and then
here's my thing though.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Eric. I appreciate your take on this. You're probably right. Doing what you do, but at the end of the day, mosquitoes kill a shitload of humans.
Probably
probably
the most.
Right? In a way that like, look, and this is not me saying like mosquito genocide is what we're asking for here, but like you understand this difficult sort of dynamic here where it's like mosquitoes kill so many people where bats, birds, spiders, and dragonflies probably don't.
Well, I think in response, Eric is responding to, should we just wipe them all out? That is.
Well, how can we do that? How can we do that?
If you could flip a switch, would you?
We can't. It's a stupid question. We can't do it.
Okay. I just figured out a way to do it. Do you want to do it?
Fuck yeah, I want to do it.
Yeah, so do I. We'll figure it out after that. I've seen Blade Runner, robotic frogs,
just
robotic
make more
bats.
bees. Just make more bees.
Right? Like bees I get are important. Eric, tell me how I get them stop, from hanging out in my backyard. That's all I really care about.
Can we genetically mutate them so they stop stinging people?
Look, here's the thing. I hate bees. I'm allergic to bees. I want nothing to do with bees, but I wish them well. I know we need them. I respect them. I have a deep respect, abiding respect for the bees. The mosquitoes can get fucked. I don't care. Ruin the ecosystem. I don't give a fuck. Get rid of those things.
What's that? We don't have apples
Blind Melon
anymore?
didn't have someone dressed up as a mosquito in the video.
Yeah.
All right. Well, mosquitoes. Son of. I would if there were something to take that like some kind of medicine or a vaccine that got you to not be bitten by mosquitoes. I would get that vaccine.
Oh
I think I have. I think so. I don't. It's like there's something in the pH balance of your sweat that makes you more or less likely to be bitten, I guess. And I think I have been on the lucky side of that.
Me too.
As I do not get mosquito bites as much as the average person.
I also don't get chewed apart, but my wife and my kids definitely.
I get it bad.
Yeah.
My ankles, and just my ankles.
Gets it real bad.
It's just my ankles.
That's because the blood is closer to the surface there. That's true.
Is that for you? Fucking
the blood vessel. I think so. I think that's true. I think that's true. Put your ankle up with the camera. Let me see the ankles.
Goodbye, Alan. It's gross. It's gross.
Wear longer
at the barbecue in a hazmat suit.
Wear longer socks. Quit wearing your freaking flip flops around, and then put on some damn boots. That's gonna do it for this week's show, folks. That's gonna do it for this week's show. I'm gonna go get on that flight simulator quick look, which is gonna get processed right after this. Went to go upload it. Started the podcast even a little late. Thought it was all happening. Ran into a problem. It didn't get off the ground, let's say. But I'm gonna go process after this. You should go take a look at that. We got a Risk of Rain quick look up. We got Other Side quick look up. I'm gonna start playing some music underneath this. It's a little shorter than you might think. So I'm gonna thank Alex. Thank Jeff Bacalar, and thank you, Jeff Gerstmann, for coming joining us over here.
Thanks for having me.
So Oh, that's still going, huh? Where is it? There's
Why is that knob like well under your table? I don't understand.
There's a lot of stuff under this table. Hold on.
Like, oh,
Yeah, whoop, watch out. That's gonna do it for this week's show. Like I said, a couple of quick looks up on the site. We have a Breaking Brad that was a lot of fun. You should go check that out. He's breaking against level 5, a world 5 on that Super Mario Brothers 2, Super Mario Lost Levels. He's playing, right? Yeah. He's got that.
Super Mario Brothers 2, the real one.
Jeff, you did a stream. Jeff Gerstmann, you did a stream. Was it after that?
No, that was after the Bombcast. I played a lot of different Burger Time games. If you want to see the Flintstones Burger Time game for Game Boy Color, which has some straight up keygen style music. Hell of a game.
And if you're listening to this on Friday, or if you want to tune in on Friday, we got the Hotspot coming up, premium show. We got another play date coming up. Jeff, you're going to join me. We're going to try and get some one of my favorite arcade games, which I thought a lot more people would know about, but every time I bring it up, they're like, that was a game. So check that out. We're going to make sure that works. Folks, it has been the Giant Beastcast. I have 5 more seconds to kill, so I'll wish you a happy birthday if it's your birthday out there, and we'll see you next week.